I'm Tim Hughes with a look at our top stories this half hour. Jacket temperatures back in some parts of Utah. A rare June freeze warning was issued last night with temperatures reaching 28 to 30 degrees in some places. It should warm up a little bit today with sunny skies and a high expected of 72. The North Tooele Fire District says they've received a water tender from the BLM Rural Fire Readiness Program. The district says the 3,500-gallon water tender will be a significant enhancement to the district's firefighting capabilities across the 1,700 square miles within Tooele County. Residents in Pleasant Grove are sharing more about a fire that came dangerously close to their homes. Jake Cleverly tells KSL-TV he rushed to hose down the fire and save the family chickens.
Because I don't think we would have had another minute if we hesitated.
The fire began just behind their home. Now our top national stories this hour from ABC News. More states are issuing air quality alerts and urging drivers to avoid fueling up their vehicles until ozone levels improve. Experts at the National Weather Service urge refueling in the morning or the evening when fumes aren't such an issue. The same holds true for using gas-powered yard equipment like lawnmowers and weed eaters. Your money at this moment, markets have been up and down, and not a lot of swings as far as volume goes here. But the Dow is down now about 44 points. It's the S&P that's up slightly, just by 4, and then the Nasdaq also in the red this morning by 11 points. Coming up, big changes in the weather. Certainly a gradual warming trend of the weekend when it's just going to be downright hot. More in the forecast in a minute. KSL News Time, 9:02.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
15 years ago, we were adding on to our home, and so I convinced Sean we should update the kitchen.
We did some research and we decided to go with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Their reputation was phenomenal. To design, do the construction and the finish work, what we wanted was what we got from start to finish. So fast forward 15 years, our family's changed. We've gotten bigger.
There just wasn't the space in the kitchen anymore. People were banging into each other.
We decided 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Here's the problem. What are our solutions? Comparing working with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath 15 years ago, today, their ability to design what you want was the same.
Everything has been what I want.
The quality of 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, I think, is phenomenal. The countertops and the cabinets that they use are great. They were just good guys doing good work.
For more about your new kitchen or bath, visit 3daykitchen.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails from people all the time. Here's one. Dear Dan, I hear your talk about a lifetime service guarantee. Free? Really? Please help me avoid all your fine print and be honest about what free means. You understand that we should be very wary of a free offer. Signed, Skeptical. Hi, Skeptical. I remember 22 years ago when we started PC Laptops and our lifetime service guarantee, people thought it was too good to be true. Well, after a decade, people started believing me a little bit. But it's been 22 years of having the privilege to serve our friends and neighbors like you. Our lifetime service guarantee has become the most trusted warranty in the industry. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop computer, and they start at only $29 a month. Check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. Here's to seeing you soon, Skeptical.
When Utah calls, Celeste Malloy delivers. Celeste is a principled yet effective congresswoman who stands up, shows up, and doesn't bow down. Utah can't afford another do-nothing politician. No chaos, no empty rhetoric, and no pandering. Just results. Vote Celeste Malloy for Congress. Paid for by Duty Service Honor PAC and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. P.O. Box 369, Snohomish, Washington 98291. Duty Service Honor PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Everything's a little better when it's super. Heroes, markets, sized, and of course, checks. A super check gives you an in-depth review of your current insurance coverage with a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent, no matter who your insurance provider is. That's super cool. Talk to a Farm Bureau agent to make sure you're properly covered at fbfs.com/protect. It's your future. Let's protect it. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. I think it's Heather Kelly in there this morning.
It is, and we are looking much better on the freeways, especially if you are northbound I-15. Still a bit of slowing coming over the point of the mountain into Draper and then again from Midvale to Murray, but speeds are improving. You still have huge delays, though, on eastbound I-80 coming out of Tooele County. That is due to lane restrictions. You're going to be down to one lane as you approach 7200 West all the way over to 56 West. Studies show being in nature improves your mental and physical health. Can't get out of the city? Take a nature break at Tracy Aviary in Liberty Park. More information and tickets at tracyaviary.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures will warm up a little bit today. Highs around 70. Going to cool down quite a bit tonight again, but so we're expecting to be around 50 degrees for an overnight low, and then just add several degrees to it over the next 5 to 7 days before we reach 99 coming on Sunday. Right now in Salt Lake City, it's 54 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
If you were caught in that wind last night, Dave, I don't know if you were, but I was. I was afraid to open my car door because I thought it was just going to blow off into the wind, off into the atmosphere. It was so windy at my house, and then I saw in Eagle Mountain a ton of tumbleweeds. Did you see the tumbleweeds around the Amazon truck?
It is incredible. We've seen this a couple of times where the tumbleweeds in a big wind down in Utah County, they just pile up and they gather. I didn't know that all the tumbleweeds in Utah end up in this county, but it is incredible. It's like attack of the killer tumbleweeds. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Former President Donald Trump endorsing Congresswoman Celeste Malloy in her campaign to keep her seat in the 2nd Congressional District. But remember, her opponent, Colby Jenkins, early on got the endorsement of United States Senator Mike Lee. Well, both Malloy and Jenkins called into KSL at Night last night.
President Trump and the governor and the House delegation all say, hey, we've worked with her and we know she's a fierce advocate for Utah. Really helps the voters.
The question would be, would the real Celeste Malloy stand up? I don't know who she is. She goes from calling President Trump a dictator to now she's counting her blessings that he even knows who she is.
And the real question I have is, how much do voters really care about endorsements, and are they keeping track of them? Do they have a list? Because everybody has a million different endorsements. Some are small, some are big names. Do endorsements matter? I don't think so.
Countdown. 2.
Well, we have thousands of restaurants all over Utah, and of course tens of thousands of servers who work at them. I'm always surprised at how much they make an hour, $2.13. So they're living on tips, right? I mean, they're counting on getting a tip. Well, former President Trump saying he wants to stop taxing tips.
Because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Now, there's one group that estimates that this will cost us about $150 billion in taxes if you wipe that away. But here's honesty time right now, servers. Are you claiming all of your tips on your taxes? Are you itemizing it every single night? I made $57, and are you setting it aside, making sure that you claim that come tax time? Or is President Trump just legalizing some of the shady under-the-table stuff we're already doing as servers?
Launch countdown. 1.
I always thought of community rec centers, those big recreation facilities in some of our neighborhoods. It's just a lot of fun, especially for kids. Basketball, swimming lessons. Dave loves pickleball. There's that too. Racquetball. A new report released this morning suggests a lot of these are operating in the red. And they're not just losing a little bit of money. They're losing millions of dollars. And that is at taxpayers' expense because we, as taxpayers, fund these and we build them. One center, Dave, lost $3.2 million in 1 year.
My rec center, the one I go to and I've gone to for years, is losing $2.9 million a year. And I'm heartbroken because I use it. But I think about it and how many people are there when I'm there. It makes sense. It's not packed to the brim. So of course they're losing money. So what do we do about it?
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Well, let's start with what we're all talking about, and that is this wildly cold weather. I woke up and temperature at my house was 39 degrees. I think that was warmer than it was overnight. And the wind was wild. And here we are, June 18th.
And it felt like yesterday that we were melting. It was last week. We were melting. It was so hot. And now we've got this cold, and then on the East Coast, it's melting the East Coast. A huge heat wave's happening. Nicole Desmond joins us right now from the National Weather Service. Nicole, all right, it's kind of nice to have a little cooler weather right now after such a blistering start to June. How cold is it getting?
This is the coldest morning. It'll be a little chilly tomorrow morning as well, but not as cold as this morning.
I heard there was freeze warnings in some parts of Utah.
There were. The Wasatch Back and then up in the Cache Valley as well. They got to below 32 degrees this morning. A couple areas, again, we'll see below freezing tomorrow morning, but it won't be as widespread.
Okay, so it's cold in the morning. What should we expect? What are the highs?
So the highs today will barely crack 70 degrees across the Wasatch Front today. It won't even get to 70 up in the Cache Valley. So, yeah, a little bit chillier today.
Are we setting some records here, Nicole?
No, I don't believe so. But then again, I'm not quite sure what that record
the
is
lowest
today.
low ever was, because it felt really chilly this morning. The temperature said 39 degrees. I thought that was generous. It felt more like mid-30s. How long is it going to stick around?
Yeah, so we actually have a warming trend for the rest of the week, so it'll be just gradually warming the rest of the week. So we're back up into the 90s by Thursday already.
On the East Coast, I saw a huge heat wave that is coming through. Does any of that affect us, or is that just really isolated to the east?
Yeah, that's for the East Coast. Generally, the weather patterns go from west to east. So, that's a different weather system.
Perfect.
And
that's great news.
And just one last question. That wind last night got pretty wild, and it was going for quite some time. Are we done with the wind?
We're done with the wind. Yeah, it won't be anywhere near those high conditions that we felt yesterday.
Nicole Desmond, thank you for joining us, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service.
Now, you live up in Davis County. Did you get the wind?
We really didn't. No, there was a little bit of a breeze, but I was down in Utah County yesterday for early afternoon, and it was starting to pick up. It was starting to blow in, and it was not Tumbleweed Nation where I was driving, but yeah, it was getting a little windy.
If you have tumbleweeds blowing around your neighborhood, and it's safe to do so, give us a text and tell us where you're at, 57500, and were you able to clean them up or not? Because we saw some video that was just incredible of an Amazon truck, and it looked like the brush guard on the front. I don't know if that's what they have or not, but they're just trying to plow through all of these tumbleweeds that were swallowing up this Amazon delivery truck in Eagle Mountain.
And remember, it wasn't long ago when we had something similar where tumbleweeds had gathered in a neighborhood and the city had to come in and help remove them because it had piled around homes in a neighborhood so high they just couldn't get out.
Yeah. Straight ahead, your community rec center, it is a great spot for kids. My kids took swimming lessons at ours. They would go ice skating, played basketball. But a new report shows they're losing millions of dollars a year.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hey, Have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
With just days to go before primary ballots are counted, cast your vote for KSL News Radio. Choose Tim and Amanda each morning for important local stories from 5 to 9. Elect to include Dave and Dujanovic and Boyd Matheson for daily analysis of the campaigns. And on your ride home, write in Jeff Kaplan from 3 to 7. It's your voice, your vote, your station for election coverage. KSL News Radio.
As CEO, CTO, COO, or anyone who owns or operates a company, you've got plenty of titles and, of course, grand ideas. What you may be short on is time and qualified personnel to bring that next big idea to life. Meet DevSimplify. The team, the experience, and the expertise to bring custom software and apps to life. DevSimplify specializes in building market-ready software, from SaaS, mobile, and web apps to custom e-commerce and system integrations. DevSimplify handles design, development, branding, even the big launch, collaborating with your existing brilliant team or managing the project all the way from start to finish. The experts at DevSimplify know just how complex and time-consuming developing software can be. At DevSimplify, it's simply what they do. Schedule your consultation and make your software vision a reality from design to launch so you can focus on what you do best, running your business. DevSimplify.com. DevSimplify.com.
Peyton was a very kind and giving person. At 15 years old, he sustained life-threatening injuries from a motorcycle accident that took his life. His family felt like Peyton would want to save others and made the decision to donate his organs. Because of their generosity, his organs saved a 2-year-old girl, a teenage boy, and others that were desperate in need of life-saving organs. Go to donorconnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old or not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save the life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope. Heal life. DonorConnect.life.
State budget directors nicknamed his Reading pen the Bullfighter. He only eats out once a week, sample day at the supermarket. His car not only stops on a dime, it picks it up too. He's Republican John Dougal, the most frugal man in the world.
I'm John Dougal, candidate for Congress. I'm reusing my state auditor campaign ad to save money. Congress needs to stop wasting money too. It's clearly time to frugal DC.
Vote frugal. Vote John Dougal.
I approve this message. Paid for by Friends to Elect Frugal Dougal.
Hey, Steve, have you noticed your utility bills? Mine have almost doubled.
Yeah, trust me and call Brad at Gillette Heating and Air Conditioning. He got me not just a better system, but a carrier for about half the price of the big HVAC companies. You know, these super high energy systems can save thousands on utilities, and Brad showed me how to get almost $5,000 in utility and government rebates.
You have their number?
385-GET-HEAT. I even heard that if you get a system before the end of the month, they'll throw in a free water heater.
385-GET-HEAT.
Yep.
Got it.
Or head to GilletteServices.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a few of Salt Lake City's West Side businesses are going solar. They're part of a larger effort to encourage other businesses in underserved communities to overcome barriers to clean energy. Second, several wildfires broke out across Utah over the past 24 hours, and they're affecting both rural and residential areas. Power lines are still getting back up this morning. And third, homeless advocacy groups are reporting an influx of immigrants from Venezuela. The numbers echo comments recently made by Governor Spencer Cox, who claims Denver is sending Venezuelan immigrants into the state. We're going to look for a high today in Salt Lake City of 72 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, it's 54. Let's get you back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, I see our text line, Dave, is already lighting up with people wanting to comment about the expense of rec centers in our communities. We're going to take your live phone calls in just a bit. But first, let's lay out what we know from this new report from the Utah Taxpayers Association. It dropped into our inboxes at about 6 o'clock this morning. Dave and I read through it. They released an 8-page report about our community rec centers. And these are the places that, we go to play, right? The kids go to swim. They take swimming lessons. They ice skate. They play basketball. Dave plays racquetball there. The Cliff Notes version of this report is they're losing millions and millions of dollars.
That was a staggering number as we were looking at it. And there's a very important part of this story. When we talk about how much money they're losing annually, we're not even counting what it took to build the rec center in the first place.
Okay.
And so
Right.
it's like, hey, what's the family budget? But we're not going to count the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to count the mortgage. You have to include that into it because these bonds that were being used to build a rec center or renovate a rec center are tens of millions of dollars. So let's be very clear. They're expensive to build. They're expensive to run, to maintain, to keep up to date, to staff. So the real question is, are they worth it?
Yeah. I think you have to look at it from that perspective. What does it bring to your family? What does it bring to the community? I mean, I think swim lessons for kids are absolutely invaluable. I don't, those aren't even an option. We're not an option in my home because a child gets around a pool of water.
Yeah.
Not in your own backyard, at a neighbor's. They're not paying attention or they're not home. A child wanders in the backyard. All the things. So to me, that in and of itself makes these rec centers and the price of swim lessons at them priceless. I mean, they're just priceless, but they provide a lot of fun as well. So let's set the scene. We've got them all over the place. Many of them are in fact built by our counties. Some are financed by our cities. They are taxpayer supported. This isn't your local gym, major corporation coming in and building a big gym that has a swimming pool. That's different. These are your facilities that offer, pickleball and tennis, and they're right across the street from your neighborhood. I lived right across the street from one for years, and the kids loved it. But they do cost millions of dollars, as you pointed out, to build. They cost millions of dollars to maintain, but they are fun. So I have some heartburn when we start talking about these huge losses that they're taking. I guess I kind of figured they would be taking losses.
And listen, I don't necessarily need them to be making money hand over the fist and gouging the people that are coming. But quite frankly, if you cannot support yourself, then we need to have a really tough conversation of, would our money be better spent elsewhere? Maybe we redirect it to trails and parks that don't need so much staffing, that doesn't need hundreds of gallons of chlorine to clean a pool, right? We've got to figure out, if it is losing money hand over fist, then should we redistribute and take that tax money and use it elsewhere?
So let's get into the details of this Utah Taxpayers Association report. They looked at the data, the finances from 2022. Okay, and we all kind of understand that when it comes to looking at data, it's retroactive, right? I mean, these reports get filed and then they go through the system and then they get posted online or they become public. So it's a couple years old. So back in 2022, the Utah Taxpayers Association, in the report they released today, found that only one of the rec centers that they surveyed, and they surveyed 6. Now, there are a lot more than 6, okay, but they surveyed 6. Only one turned a profit, and that was Provo. The rec center in Provo turned a profit. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, good. Maybe they turned $1 million profit. Maybe they turned a $500,000 profit. It was a $34,000, $447 profit in 2022.
So of an operating
Yeah.
budget of over $4 million, they brought in over $4 million in revenues. They cleared $35,000. So even the one outlier, the gold standard of not losing money, made $35,000.
The Snyderville Basin Rec Center in the Park City area, their loss was about $350K. American Fork took a loss of $732,000. You fact checking me on that?
Yeah,
I see.
you're
Good.
right on
Yeah.
it.
Okay. I'm making sure my numbers are right here. Fine print on a Tuesday morning. 57-year-old eyeballs. Here we go. Murray took a loss of almost $1.1 million. That surprises me. It surprises me because when I think of Murray, I think of it's a busy place. Yeah, lots of kids. South Davis. Dave is very familiar with South Davis. Dave, tell everybody how much of a loss South Davis Rec Center took.
Almost $3 million. $2.9 million just in 1 year. Now, the South Davis Rec Center is my rec center. This is the one I grew up going to. I live in Kaysville, so I'm 15 minutes away. But I would travel 15 minutes. I played racquetball there for years, 3 or 4 times a week. I played a lot, and I went there, and I paid the money. So I look at it, and I loved it. I have great memories of it. I also haven't been back there to play racquetball in 10 years. And I think that's the problem is people enjoyed it for a season. Maybe they did enjoy it when their kids were little, but it is seasonal when you go to these rec centers.
Dave and I talking about a new report that dropped this morning into our inboxes from the Utah Taxpayers Association. In a few moments, we're going to have the association on Live on the Line and ask them if they have any solutions. Is there a way to turn this ship around? But this report shows that there's significant losses at these rec centers, at least 5 of the 6 that they surveyed. Provo turned a profit, not quite $35,000. Not a lot of money for a rec center, but it did turn a profit. The rest have shown losses, and Ochre Rec Center in Kearns kind of takes the cake, sadly, on this one. I think this is a fabulous facility. It provides just a ton of fun for a lot of people in the community in the Kearns area. They took a loss of $3.2 million in 2022.
And part of the reason I stopped going to rec centers is because they've built a Vasa a mile and a half away from my house.
Oh, like a gym. I belong to
It was
one
a
of
gym.
those, yeah.
So if I want to work out, it's right there. They have a basketball court. They had a racquetball court. They have a swimming pool and a hot tub and a sauna. They have everything that the rec center had, and it was cheaper. Debbie, I'm looking at the monthly membership for the South Davis Rec Center. Again, this is mine. It's $31 a month.
Which kind of sounds like a good deal, doesn't it? For everything you get.
It was cheaper at Vasa.
Yeah.
So with Vasa, and that is $31 a month with a subsidized building. And
You're right. So you pay a membership to these rec centers if you want to belong, but it's kind of a reduced rate, especially if you live in the community itself. If you're driving in from, Wendover to use these facilities, they charge you more. Yeah. But for a local membership, it's like Ochre Park is like $23 a month for residents, and Murray is about the same, and South Davis is $31 a month. But what you're saying is private businesses, private gyms are kind of swooping in and competing for your business.
Yeah, and they're winning. You talked about Snyderville.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one up in Park City,
Right.
right? The monthly membership there. Monthly membership is $75.
What?
$75. The day pass is $10. Resident, non-resident, $75 a month.
Okay. So this is a potential business model issue.
Yes.
For these for our community rec centers. Straight ahead, we're going to get the Utah Taxpayers Association live on the line. They looked at these 6 rec centers and found, only that one in Provo was barely profitable. So what does the association suggest we do to fix it? They're up next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's look at some of our top local stories this hour. New hotline to report DEI law violations is already seeing complaints submitted. KSL News Radio's Josue Sanchez has more.
State Auditor John Dougal says they launched the hotline before the law goes into effect July 1st. The new hotline has already received 27 false complaints in the last week, far less than the 12,000 spam complaints the bathroom hotline received in a month. Dougal hopes by launching the hotline early, it will get the spam complaints out of the way.
Dougal says after they receive the complaints, they report that complaint to the Legislative Management Committee. Clean Slate Utah and the NAACP Utah are holding a free Juneteenth expungement clinic today. Executive Director Destiny Garcia believes in the work because she herself went through the process and felt the effects of having a record.
And before I got my expungement, when I would go out and look for jobs or even apartments, I would get denied over and over again. I couldn't get a job anywhere.
The clinic is open to anyone who needs guidance, offering free record screenings and volunteer attorneys to talk to. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Health officials are keeping a close watch on bird flu to see if there is any more risk of it spreading to humans. So far, 100 million poultry and some cows across the country have been affected. So far, 3 farm workers have tested positive. All had mild symptoms and recovered and didn't appear to spread. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed and very narrow trading, too. The Dow is down, but only by 6.5 points. The S&P is up just 2, and the NASDAQ down by 36 points this hour. Should it actually show some green numbers at the close with Jeff Kaplan this afternoon, it would be a 7th record close for the NASDAQ. Coming up, sunny skies, and man, is it going to be hot this weekend. Enjoy the day we have coming. We'll tell you more in the forecast. KSL News Time, 9:32. News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I've loved about my Connecticut water softener is how I feel after I get out of the shower, especially during the winter and in the summer where you're playing, you're taking tons of showers. Hard water really dries out my skin, and soft water has completely changed the way your skin feels. I remember Connecticut when they came out to our house, they said, oh yeah, the first time you take a shower with soft water, you will feel the difference, and you really do. So you don't know what you're missing unless you have some soft water. Go ahead and give Connecticut of Utah a call. They'll come out to your house. They'll walk you through all the places that soft water benefits your home. And my wife and I looked at it as an investment in the home because it prolongs your expensive appliances, good for your skin, clothing, when you're doing laundry, obviously your dishes, the hard water stains, all of that goes away. I've loved it. It was a great investment for us. Give them a call, 801-576-8600. That's Connecticut of Utah. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, 801-576-8600. Or you can check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. Interest rates are not the only thing that has evolved in the mortgage industry. The way loan programs are priced has also undergone some changes. These days, sometimes FHA loans work out better, even factoring in mortgage insurance. This is because loans have what are called loan-level pricing adjustments, and they are usually much higher on conventional loans. These fees are more prominent with cash-out refinances, low down payment purchases, and lower credit score scenarios. These extra costs end up pushing interest rates higher, and this is why a rate quote without context is usually inaccurate. It can be confusing, but we can help you sort through the numbers to see which option fits your situation. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com, NMLS 289115.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course. Serving as mayor, he didn't just improve public services, he transformed Provo into one of the best-run cities in the country, all while cutting the budget, leaving with an unheard of 94% approval rating. In Congress, Curtis was named one of the most effective lawmakers. Curtis voted repeatedly to stop Washington's reckless spending and secure the border. Protecting farmers and ranchers from government overreach, he transferred more federal land to Utah than anyone else in state history. He authored legislation in Congress to hold China accountable. Now John Curtis is running for Senate. Unlike typical politicians, Curtis gets things done. Vote conservative John Curtis for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary on or before June 25th. EDF Action Votes is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by EDF Action Votes, edfactionvotes.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Is it clearing out there, Heather?
Well, we are slowly but surely getting back to normal speeds, but you're still going to have a few areas of brake lights northbound I-15 from Bluffdale to Draper, and then again from Midvale to Murray. I-80 eastbound coming out of Tooele County. If you are trying to get to 5600 west on I-80, you still have slowdowns due to lane restrictions, only one right lane open there. And we've got delays on Bangerter Highway through the road construction zone approaching 4700 south. Hogle Zoo has so much to explore, and now there's even more to love. The all-new Aline W. Skaggs Wild Utah exhibit and the Eccles Express train are now open at Hogle Zoo. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
I was just looking at this warming trend. So we go from 72 degrees today to 85, 91, 93 on Friday, 97 Saturday. We might get triple digits on Sunday, believe it or not, with a forecast high of 99. But right now, just beautiful out there. Sunny skies and 55 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Now, we know that community rec centers are important to not only neighborhoods where the kids can run down the street and go take a swimming lesson, or they can go play basketball with their buddies in the summer. They're also important to high school and to the athletes because a lot of these rec centers across our in our communities are also practice facilities and game facilities, right?
Yeah, the swim team, hockey team, they'll use these. And oftentimes when these sports teams go there, they get a discounted rate to actually go there and have their practice. So sometimes it's fully subsidized, partially subsidized. But yeah, they're used not just for summertime fun.
We do also know from a Utah Taxpayers Association report that was released this morning that these rec centers aren't turning a profit. In fact, there are significant losses. The Okra Rec Center in Kearns, according to the Utah Taxpayers Association, they took a look at the 2022 numbers and said there's a loss there of $3.2 million. South Davis, which was kind of Dave's hub when he was growing up as a kid, has a loss of $2.8 million in 2022. Murray, over $1 million. Even American Fork is closing in, at least in 2022, on a $750,000 annual loss that year. Provo came in on the green side. $35,000 profit. Struggling financially. Do they make sense? I think that's the question that we've been asking ourselves, Dave.
Joining us right now, Mala Armstrong is the vice president with the Utah Taxpayers Association. You guys issued this report this morning as we've been going through it. I think it asked some really, really good questions about the value and the cost of rec centers. What made you look into this?
Yeah, well, we love our rec centers, right? We know that they're important for communities and that people enjoy going there. But I think that what maybe most people don't realize is that although they're paying for it at the door, they're also paying for it in their taxes. And so we just wanted to point out that these are expensive facilities. And more cities are considering building their own rec centers. Some of the rec centers in the state are very old and need repairs and big bonds to fund those. And so we just wanted to point out the costs that come with them. We mentioned we're not trying to criticize the rec centers at all. We understand that many people see them as an important asset to the community, but I think it is important for people to realize just how much they're costing.
And the Utah Taxpayers Association, when they crunched the numbers, Mala, it seems as though you left the bond payments out of those numbers. So if you look at the South Davis Rec Center, just by way of example, your report says it opened up in 2007 with an initial $18.4 million bond, and that as of 2022, the outstanding debt is still inching toward $5 million. So really, if you look at the loss there at the South Davis Rec Center of, let's say, almost $3 million in 2022, that does not include the bond payment, correct?
Correct. And so the reason we did that is because not all of the rec centers in the report have an outstanding bond, and so we wanted to compare them just on their operational profit or loss. But when you consider the cost of bonds in addition to subsidizing the operational loss, these are really expensive facilities every year for residents.
And these are subsidized through property taxes. And then I was looking at some of the renovations that have been proposed recently, and the renovations to some of these rec centers were tens of millions of dollars, 40, 50, 60 million dollars. Again, it's that capital cost that just makes them even more unprofitable. And that was a real shocking number to me, is just to see how expensive it is to build it initially and even to renovate.
Yeah, these are huge facilities with a lot of things that can go wrong, right? You've got big pools that need heated. You've got massive electrical costs and heating costs and AC costs. These are all things that can break and need repair over time. So yeah, these are hugely expensive facilities.
Mala Armstrong is the vice president of the Utah Taxpayers Association, and she's live on the line with us. The association issued a new report this morning about rec centers. Those are the facilities in our communities that kids go to play. Mom and dad go to play pickleball. Sometimes there's soccer facilities there, or certainly swimming pools there. And I'm looking at the rates, the membership rates, because I'm trying to figure out what the solution is here. And you look at Oak Park Rec Center, which took a $3 million plus loss in 2022, and their monthly membership rate for residents who live in that community is $23 a month. Is the Taxpayers Association suggesting that these facilities need to look at upping those membership rates?
Possibly. The reality is that residents are paying for it one way or the other. It's just a case of whether they want to see that in their property tax bill or if they want to see that in their monthly membership rate. And as an association, we advocate for the people who use the facility to pay for it, and so reflecting the cost of it in your membership, as in when you choose to buy a membership, you pay for it, rather than putting it in a general property tax for everyone. That makes sense to us. We can understand why that may be an unattractive option, but the reality is that residents are paying for it one way or the other. In your property tax, it's hidden. In your membership rate, it's very obvious to you.
Mala Armstrong, thank you for joining us from the Utah Taxpayers Association. You're the vice president there. Thank you.
I had no idea what the numbers were until I looked at that report this morning. I just looked at the rec center as an awesome place for my kids and the neighborhood kids and other kids to go over and have a lot of summer fun. And then, of course, in the wintertime, we'd love to play basketball there. And they play junior jazz basketball and soccer and all of these things. And now, Of course, my kids are older, so maybe I'm leaning into the idea of, if you want it, then why don't you just pay for it? Why do I pay for it? Is that rude?
I think it's reality, especially when we start seeing some of these private gyms popping up in our communities that are even more affordable. They offer better rates in many ways than what I'm looking at right now.
But then the other side, the mom side of me says, oh, stop thinking about the numbers. Deb, think about the kids. I mean, what a great way for kids to spend their summer. And it's low cost. And in fact, in Salt Lake County, they made, memberships free for kids under a certain age recently. And I think that's a wonderful idea. So let's weigh in on this. Let our listeners start lighting up our phone lines. You've been lighting up the text line ever since we mentioned rec centers this morning and new reports. So give us a phone call, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Do you feel community rec centers are too expensive for your community? Your live calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You don't need a warranty" warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You don't need a warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
When it's hot outside, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 30,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance and repair to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With almost 9,000 reviews on Google and countless before and after pictures and videos, SodaWeightLoss.com has helped people turn their lives around, get off the medications, and stay healthy for the rest of their life. Like Nick, who let go of 42 pounds in 5 weeks.
Before this, I was pre-diabetic. I had high cholesterol and acid reflux. And when I went to the doctor last week, I had none of those things. She took me off all of my medicines.
It's been almost a year since my doctor told me I was type 2 diabetic, which was a real sobering moment. But as it turns out, the wake-up call I'd been needing. He put me on medication, but said it was still early enough to be reversed if I made some life changes. With the help and encouragement of Soda's amazing nutritionists and dietitians, I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months. Now I finally like how I look, but more importantly, I'm no longer diabetic, and even my sleep apnea has dramatically improved. Don't wait anymore. Go to SodaWeightLoss.com to get started. SOTA Weightloss.com. Soda stands for, say it with me, state of the art.
Robert.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Put your phone on D&D. That means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, 2 people have died after their plane crashed in northwest Colorado. Officials believe they were on their way to Ogden. Second, Senate Democrats plan to vote today on legislation to ban bump stocks after a previous ban was overturned by the Supreme Court. And third, a new complaint hotline for Utah's DEI law has launched a couple of weeks before the law goes into effect July 1st. The hotline has already seen 27 false complaints in the last week. We're going to look for a high today of 72 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City, it's sunny at 55. Now back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
Are recreation centers just too expensive for your community? We're taking your live phone calls, and we've got a long line of listeners waiting to weigh in on this. But these rec centers are all over the place across Utah, and the Utah Taxpayers Association took an in-depth look at their finances, and they based this on 2022 numbers and found that 5 of the 6 rec centers they looked into had significant amount of losses. Ochre, in Kearns, the Ochre Rec Center has a loss of like $3+ million in 2022. Murray Rec Center, more than $1 million that year in losses.
And recently, as recent as 2022, these rec centers have asked for additional money for expansions and renovations to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars. The South Davis Rec Center asked for a $46 million bond. Now, the board ultimately rejected that, but there's a couple of these bonds that are coming up that are $50-60 million.
Mala Armstrong with the Utah Taxpayers Association, and they do a lot of this where they look and see what value that our tax dollars are buying us as taxpayers. She was just on the line, Mala Armstrong, just a moment ago, talking to us about how expensive these facilities are to operate.
These are huge facilities with a lot of things that can go wrong, right? You've got big pools that need heated. You've got massive electrical costs and heating costs and AC costs. These are all things that can break and need repair over time.
And as you said, Debbie, these are operating at a $1 million loss, $1 to $3 million loss annually. And that's not even counting the capital costs, the renovations, the bonds to build the community center, the rec center. Chad, Eagle Mountain, what do you think, Chad?
It's not just about the fun. That was a comment that Debbie had made earlier. It's not about the fun. It's about the jobs for some of these kids. It's about the destination that some of these kids that they need in their lives. I grew up in Logan, and I attended the rec center all the time. And I know that without the rec center, on the days that I didn't go, you bet I was into a little bit of mischief here and there. So,
yeah,
absolutely, the rec centers are needed, but think about the jobs that they're offering these kids, the learning, the skills that they're able to develop. That's more important than
Chad,
just the fun.
I love that perspective. They have snack shacks there. The kids are learning to run the snack shacks. They're signing up members, and I love the lifeguard element of it as well, where a lot of teenagers are training to be lifeguards.
David in South Jordan, what do you think, David?
Well, I have kind of a different perspective. I've been went to the South Jordan Rec Center before it was sold to the county, and I go there on J.L. Sorensen. And I have to tell you that if you had a for-profit facility, and I love the facilities, but they just don't act like they care about the patrons. And to give you an example of that, out of the J.L. Sorensen, I have a crippled leg, and so I'm sensitive to it, but they clear the pool, one of the pools, for 10 minutes every hour. And I'm there, and there's two of us in the pool. And they clear the pool, and I go protest to the lifeguard. I say, there's two of us. You want us to go to the bathroom, we'll go to the bathroom.
Oh.
And she just says, I'm sorry that you feel that way. So you sit in the cold for 10 minutes every hour. And then both facilities have gone weeks where they've had mechanical difficulties and no way to know if the pool's open or not open.
Well, thanks for your phone call, David. I think they clear the pool as a safety precaution, but what you're saying is that there's only two people in the pool. Why do they have to do that? I don't know the answer to that. Pam, West Valley City, do you feel like these rec centers are a positive thing for your community?
Absolutely. I am a mother of 3 boys. We use them for soccer, for swim lessons. I, myself, as a young mother, coming out of the, exorbitant costs of having a baby, needed to be exercising after gestational diabetes, and I have all these little boys, and the cost of going to a private facility to have daycare is phenomenal. It is so high. And we were able to do it at our local center with free daycare on top of our membership for the year. And so that made it possible. I just feel like with a for-profit facility, we also can't get all the things that we need, like swim lessons. They cater more to a mid-level aged person or mid-level to older. They don't really cater to families, and they're very difficult on the costs for young children.
Are you getting the free passes for your boys through the county, through Salt Lake County?
I can do that with the swimming, but I'm talking about daycare alone, just for me.
Yeah,
for me.
And they offer it there at the facility.
Yeah, at the West Valley City facility. I love it.
They did that.
And so it makes it possible.
Yeah,
Is it free? Is it free daycare?
Yeah, if you have a membership, yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you don't, then you have to pay some. But even paying some is far less. I looked at the costs. It was so high for me to be able to take my kids. It outpriced me by a long shot. I was like, okay, well, I can't go to a facility.
Wow, Pam, thank you so much. Thanks for your perspective on that. And just having raised 3 kids myself, Dave, you had 4. You know that daycare becomes an issue if you want to go work out and you want to take one of your kids to a swimming lesson because they're in the toddler swimming lesson. The other ones are a little bit older. So she brings in a great point of view there.
Yeah, and I'm sympathetic to that. I know it's expensive raising kids. I get it. But we've got to figure out a way where it is not a complete and total financial drain on the county or the community. Property taxes pay for itself because we're losing millions of dollars with rec centers.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. 2 people have died after their plane, which was on its way to Utah, crashed into a mobile home park in northwest Colorado. Jay Seifert and Mike McClone tell CBS News Colorado what they saw as the plane went down.
The plane was not really making a lot of forward momentum, but was basically rotating 360 degrees.
It was spinning full circles, and one of the engines was definitely out.
Members of the NTSB headed to the scene to try and determine the official cause of the crash. We don't know yet if the man or woman on board, man and the woman, I should say, had any ties to Utah. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Russian President Vladimir Putin making a rare trip to North Korea this week. Been 24 years since his last visit when Kim Jong-un's father was in power. Relations between Russia and North Korea have warmed in recent years, especially after Russia's invasion in Ukraine. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, but just 14 points. The NASDAQ is down, but only by about 6. And coming up, it looks like we'll see warming weather through the rest of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
My name is J.R. Bird. As mayor of Roosevelt, I increased transparency, led the charge to pass term limits, and kept taxes low. As your congressman, I will leverage my experience in the energy sector to champion energy independence and dominance. I'm determined to defend the unborn, secure our borders, uphold our Second Amendment rights, and bring the same level of transparency that we've upheld locally. I hope to earn your support.
Paid for by Bird for Congress.
Attention homeowners considering roof replacement in 2024. Light up your home this June with Master Roofing. Schedule your roof replacement by the end of June and receive a free V-Lux sun tunnel valued at $1,200. Perfect for brightening your bathrooms and hallways. Don't miss out. Visit masterroofingutah.com to schedule your free assessment and claim your free V-Lux sun tunnel. Call 801-383-0072 or visit masterroofingutah.com today. Light up your home with Master Roofing.
You might not believe this, but 11 of Utah's 16 presidential disasters involved flooding. That's because heavy rain brings dangerous flash flooding to many areas not designed to handle a large amount of water in a short period of time. Fact is, 6 inches of fast-moving water can knock a person down, and 2 feet of fast-moving water can float a vehicle away. That's why Utah Flood Hazards asks you to prepare now to get flood insurance before it's too late to protect the life you've built. When you're aware of a flood watch, stay tuned to media for information and know before you go. If a flash flood should occur, move to high ground immediately. Remember, 11 of Utah's 16 presidential disasters involved flooding, so the cost of flood insurance is a drop in the bucket compared to the cost of flood damage. Check your coverage today and protect the life you've built with the right flood insurance. Visit floodsmart.gov and get details. Floodsmart.gov.
A slow network is no network for business. That's why more choose Comcast Business. And now we're introducing Ultimate Speed for Business, our fastest plans yet. We're up to 12 times faster than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And existing customers could even get up to triple the speeds at no additional cost. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability and advanced cybersecurity. It's Ultimate Speed from Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Don't miss out on our fastest speed plans yet. Get started with internet and security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call 1-800-501-6000 or go to ComcastBusiness.com to switch today. In 62324, restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabits per second internet and security edge. Eco bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Compares Comcast Business 1.25 gig to 100 megabits per second of Verizon 5G Business, AT&T Wireless Broadband, and T-Mobile for Business. Up to 3 times download for existing essential and standard internet customers.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, it looks like we're finally back to normal freeway speeds everywhere across the Wasatch Front and the Wasatch Back. No delays right now coming out of Tooele County on I-80 heading east toward 5600 West, or on I-80 over toward Park City as you move between Kimball Junction and Silver Creek Junction. Southbound and northbound I-15 all at speed between Payson and the Ogden area in both directions getting into downtown Salt Lake. Studies show being in nature improves your mental and physical health. Can't get out of the city? Take a nature break at Tracy Aviary in Liberty Park. For more information and tickets at tracyaviary.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cool again today with a high of only 72 degrees. A warm-up starts tomorrow with a high of 85. We're back into the 90s for the rest of the week. And right now, 55 degrees is all, but it's sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We're going to talk to the KSL 5 investigative team about a story they reported on that kind of answers this question, at least how to dive into this question. Who's responsible or who pays for an accident that happens inside one of those automated car washes?
I kind of chuckled when I saw this because I thought, how could there be any accidents in the car wash? I mean, you put your tires on a track and it literally, you just don't have to do anything. And it carries you through, washes, spits you out at the end. Like, who gets in a car crash in a car wash?
And these are not on every corner, but there are.
Close, Deb.
They're springing
all
up.
over the place.
And I've been going to an automated car wash for years now. I have never had a problem, but I've heard of stories where there has been a problem. And then KSL 5 Television's Matt Gephardt went out and talked to two women. And on the video, the surveillance video, Dave, you and I watched this story. You can see one car, like the automated, it just kind of...
The track.
Yeah, how would you describe it? There's the Jeep's in front, and then here comes another car on the track.
Yeah, you put your tire in the track, and then you put it in neutral, and it just carries you through. Well, it looked like somehow the Jeep that was in front went off the track and stopped moving forward. So the car that was behind it, that was on the track, just kept running into the back of this Jeep.
Let's listen to KSL 5 Television's Matt Gephardt report and then speak to his producer, Sloan Schrag, about this who pays next.
There was a Jeep in front of me through the car wash, and halfway through the car wash, she went off track, which pulled my car into the back of her Jeep. The girl in front of me must have touched the steering wheel to take her off track.
It's definitely not my fault. I know the rules. I know you're not supposed to touch your steering wheel. You don't touch the brakes. Leave your car neutral. You just let it do its thing. While I was talking to my daughter, all of a sudden I see my steering wheel go like crazy, and then it was like a big bump, and I was off the track.
The KSL investigators watched the footage repeatedly. We count 22 seconds between the time that her Jeep went off the track until the car wash was shut down.
Feels like they turned it off and then it turned on again for a minute, and then they hit me into me again, right back into the tire area.
And that's what they're basically saying, is it's no different than an accident on the street.
KSL Television's investigative producer, Sloan Schrag, joins us right now. Sloan. Okay, so how serious was this crash?
Probably on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it was maybe a 2. I mean, it wasn't a lot of damage. It kind of crumpled the front end, the hood, and then the paint was chipped around that damage.
No one was injured.
No one was injured. No one was hurt. The Jeep didn't get hurt at all either. It was just the front end of the Lindsay's Volkswagen, and it was about $1,500 worth of damage.
So there was $1,500 worth of damage that the driver in the car that was behind the Jeep did she have to pay it, Sloan? Or how did that shake out?
Well, the car wash told them that it's not their responsibility, that they have to sort it out between their insurance companies. And so they went back and forth between the insurance companies and the car wash itself. In the end, the car wash did pay Lindsay back the $1,500 to repair this car.
See, when I go through one of these car washes, do I ever think that maybe there could be something that goes awry? Yeah. But what I'm unaware of until your report is who pays if something does go wrong. And I've never had anything go wrong. But this video that you obtained from the car wash, of the video of the actual incident at the car wash, shows that there was this black Jeep in the front and then this like a sedan behind, and it looked like it kept going into the back bumper of the Jeep. Is that how you saw the video too?
Yeah, we watched it several times, as Matt mentioned in the report, and we saw at least 4 collisions in that 22 seconds. And then when they shut the machine off, it started up quickly again for a few seconds, and there was one more run in the back of the Jeep.
No.
So we counted 5 times total. But yeah, and as far as who's at fault, it's not really an easy question to answer. If you want me to go forward,
Yeah.
the driver ahead could have. She says she didn't, but a driver may have touched the steering wheel or the brake. That could have sent the car off the rails, or it could be the machine. And if it's a machinery, to prove liability, you have to prove that there was negligence of some sort. Was the machine not functioning? Was it defective in some way? Maybe the employees made a mistake when they loaded the cars up on the rails. You'd have to be able to prove that there was some sort of negligence in order for to prove responsibility in the car wash.
But the car wash said that there was none of those things that had happened with at least with the facility itself, right?
That is correct. They said there was nothing wrong with the machinery. It was working just fine. It did everything it was supposed to do, and it didn't cause the incident in any way.
So when the car wash decided to pick up the tab for the damage, was there an admission of guilt?
No, not at all. It wasn't addressed to us directly. It was through Lindsay that she found out that they were going to pay for that damage. She told us that an internal adjuster inside the company reviewed the footage again and then decided to pay the claim.
Sloan Schrag with the KSL5 investigative team on air with us right now and in studio after a report on this car wash incident where you can see on the video, and you can see it on KSL5's webpage as well, this video of this car that was behind a Jeep in the car wash. It just looked like it kept getting dinged right into the Jeep. You said it happened a total of 5 times. And that eventually the person who had the damage to the car, $1,500, did get reimbursed by the car wash. And one important takeaway from this report, Sloan, that I found helpful: get a police report when this happens. I suppose I would think at the moment to do that, but I think it's like a fender bender on the street. Call the cops and let them take a report.
Exactly. That's how the car wash actually described it, as you would treat it the same as you would a crash on the street. And so, having said that, getting a police to file a police report, that can help spur an investigation on by the insurance companies as they work out to find out who's responsible, whether it was the driver in front or the driver in the back, or if maybe it was the car wash's responsibility.
But I also had an experience once where I did get into a fender bender, and we called the police, and they just said, figure it out. We don't come out unless it's something more serious or if there's an injury. If it's just a little body damage, we don't come out. And they gave us a file. They gave us a number. They put it in
a case number?
A case number. But, yeah, they didn't come out. And it was basically like, hey, good luck with insurance.
I think that's still worth a call.
It is. And there's also the option of small claims court, too.
Yes.
If you can't get a police report, the way you would hope, you can always try your luck in small claims. You just have to make sure you have a strong case, that you can prove that the car wash is liable and that you didn't have pre-existing damage on your vehicle before it went inside the car wash would probably help your case as well.
Sloan Schrag, thank you. Very interesting. I hadn't really thought about this. I just assumed that it was all boring and you just go through, you get your car washed. But that was the first time I thought, oh, wow, things maybe could go wrong. And it seems like they shut it down fairly quickly, but still 22 seconds. It's not a lot of time, but when you're getting smashed into the back of someone's vehicle, that must have felt like a very long time. So, Sloan, thank you for joining us.
You can check out Sloan and Matt's report at ksltv.com. Thanks, Sloan. All right. Straight ahead, we got a report, saw it this morning, of 3 dogs that were it sounds like they were being aggressive at a park yesterday in Roy, Utah, and that some people got bitten as well. And the Roy Police Department had to get over there and get these dogs away from the kids and people at the park. It sounded like just a crazy scene out there. So we're going to talk to the Roy Police Department straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
So many of us have been through this journey where you have some weight, you maybe put it on a little weight, and for years you've had a hard time getting rid of it. It's the reason I decided to join a program. So I reached out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss, and I had them walk me through what their program was. And it's diet-based, but it's not surgery-based. It's not injection-based. They have a program, and they told me early on, they said, we have the secret to losing a pound of fat a day. And I thought that sounded so optimistic, but it got me excited. And then when I joined it in the first week, I was down 7 or 8 pounds. The next week, I was down 15 pounds, 25 pounds. I was losing a pound of fat a day, just like they had told me, and I feel great. I ended up losing 57 pounds in 2 months, and it really kept me motivated because it was so effective. So if you're interested in losing weight, you want to join a program, it's proven. Research has shown this. When you join a program, your results are so much better than if you just try to do it on your own. Go to slcfatloss.com. That's the website. Schedule a free consultation. Just go to slcfatloss.com.
Utah's waters are running high and cold.
Both Jordan Elm and Utah Lake are at capacity. Anything and everything that comes in there has to go downstream.
Join Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News this Thursday for a special broadcast from the Provo River. Swift Water Danger. Thursday from 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Frank Myler. I'm running for Utah's Attorney General. You've heard ads, seen billboards, and got mailers. I've also crisscrossed the state getting to know you. Recently, I debated my opponents. What the debate clearly shows is that I'm the only one not tied to special interest, beholden to elected officials, and the only one who's actually fought for your rights. I'll hit the ground running day one. See for yourself. Go to utahdebatecommission.org to check it out. I'm Frank Myler, and I approve this message, paid for by Frank Myler for Attorney General.
The Utah RV Palooza is back and packed with new and used RVs to fit every budget. June 20th through the 22nd, come to the largest free RV show in the area at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. You'll find monthly payments starting under $149 on approved credit for select new RVs like a new 2024 GoPlay 19 BH travel trailer. You'll also find huge savings on used motorhomes. We've got select 2023 and 2024 low mileage models from Thor and Jayco heavily discounted. The best deals don't last, so start shopping now at bishes.com/Utah RV Palooza Sandy. And make sure you tour the full lineup of GoPlay travel trailers, one of the fastest growing RV brands in Utah. Get special financing options like 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. And if you've got a trade, we want it. Get an additional $1,000 towards your travel trailer or fifth wheel trade-in. See dealer for details. Admission is free to the Utah RV Palooza, Thursday, June 20th through Saturday, June 22nd at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. Sponsored by Bish's RV. Stock number L75163 based on 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Hey there, you in aisle 2.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a plane on its way to Utah crashed in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. 2 people aboard were killed. Second, Russia's president is getting a friendly welcome in North Korea, one of the few countries that supports his invasion of Ukraine. And third, former BYU basketball coach Mark Pope put his home in Provo up for sale. It includes a pool and a basketball court. 55 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
We're talking right now about a dog. There's a number of dogs that got loose yesterday afternoon, and police officers in Roy, Dave, had to respond to this park. According to the news release, 2 people at the park were bitten, and officers had a wild time trying to contain these two or three dogs. We're going to speak live in just a moment to the Roy City Police Department.
I'm pretty jumpy when it comes to animals off leash. I get a little nervous around them. I'm not super comfortable around dogs, and especially if they're larger dogs, then my apprehension skyrockets. And as we are learning about these 3 dogs acting aggressively, I wasn't exactly sure. Were these big dogs? Were they smaller dogs? Joining us right now, Officer Stuart Hackworth with the Roy Police Department. Thank you for joining us, Officer. Can you give us a little bit of an idea where these dogs came from and what size were they?
Yeah, so at about 4:15 p.m. yesterday, officers received a call in the area of Emeressel Park, which is 5700 South, 4300 West. That there were 3 dogs at large and were being aggressive. While officers were responding, they received a couple more calls of actual complainants reporting being bitten by one of these 3 dogs. Upon arrival, the dogs had actually ran westbound into a field that contained a horse. And officers immediately observed the dogs circling the horse and being aggressive, and appeared that they were going after the horse as well. So yeah, it was. They tried to contact the dogs to get them away from the horse. The dogs ended up running through the field into kind of a corner area where the officers attempted to kind of contain the dogs. At that time, the dogs actually advanced and attempted to attack the officers. They ended up running off into another field adjacent to it. Officers followed. Officers reported they could hear kids playing in a nearby neighborhood, so they were concerned with the bites that had already taken place and the kids. So they followed the dogs into the other field. At which point the dogs again attacked aggressively went to attack one of our officers. It's reported that one of the dogs circled behind the officer while the other 2 were coming from the front, at which time that officer did deploy what's called a beanbag round. It's a less lethal round, and did strike the primary aggressing dog. That dog then ran out of the park and ended up running home. The other 2 dogs were later captured. One was with a catch pole that one of the officers had grabbed, and the other one ran off back into the park and ended up finding its way back home on its own.
Officer Stuart Hackworth is with the Roy Police Department, and yesterday afternoon it sounds like a wild scene going on there, and at some point. You did find that there were 2 people who'd been bitten in the park by one or more of the dogs, Officer?
Yeah, we did locate 2 complainants, 2 victims that reported dog bites. Those injuries were documented. One of the victims actually, what drew their attention to the dogs were the dogs going at a child that was in the area on the street, and they went to make contact to help the child, and the child actually did say he was bitten by one of the dogs, and with all the commotion and everything, they didn't get any names, any information, so there may be another victim out there that had been been bitten by the dogs, but we were not able to locate them. But we do have 2 confirmed individuals that were bitten.
What kind of dogs were these?
You know, I don't have the breeds for them. They were medium-sized dogs. They're not lap dogs, and they're not, you know, a mastiff. But I walk in that area quite a bit, and you know, I'm always being alert because dogs do get out, and unfortunately, these ones did get out, and we have 2 individuals that were bitten. So,
Officer, let's talk a little bit more about the child that has been unidentified at this point who may have been bitten. Do you have a description? Was this child a boy, a
no
girl?
description. According to the witnesses, they just said it was a child. I believe it was a boy, but they don't have a description. They weren't familiar with him being in the neighborhood, and with all the commotion and the dogs being aggressive, they said they lost track of him. He did not appear to be injured. Did appear to be okay, but our dispatch did receive multiple reports of individuals being bitten, and the dog's going after a child. Anytime that you have situations like this, especially at a park, you know, that park is a very popular park. You have pickleball, you got soccer fields. You know, it does raise our level of concern.
Once the dogs returned home, what happened? What did you do?
So the dogs, the dog that was shot with the beanbag round was transported to Animal ER by Roy City Animal Control. Riverdale Animal Control did actually help respond out as well and assisted in taking custody of the dogs and transporting them to the Weber County shelter. The owners of the dogs were issued citations by Roy City Animal Control.
Do you know how they got out, officer?
It appears that the fence for the yard where these dogs reside had blown over, had some damage, and they were able to get out that way.
Recently blown over, do you know? Or is that because
I
it was really
don't have
windy
a timeline.
yesterday? Okay.
Yeah, it was a little windy, and it sounds like that there was a part of a fence that had either blown off or blown over.
Are there any limits in Roy about how many dogs you can have or what size the dogs? Is there a limit there?
So there is a limit of 2 dogs that can be licensed. I believe there are exceptions for service animals. I do not believe any of these were service animals, but in Roy City you can have 2 dogs lawfully.
We're on the line live right now with Officer Stuart Hackworth of the Roy Police Department. We got a press release about this these dogs that were running, these 3 dogs running through a park, and there were reports of people being bitten. And right now they know of 2 victims who got bitten, and then there may be a possible 3rd victim who's a child, but through the commotion, it sounds like witnesses lost track of where that child went, and so there may be, another victim, another bite victim out there, and then now the dogs have all been, they're contained now. They're in the custody of Animal Services. What happens to the dogs from here, officer?
So the owners were issued citations, and it's up to Animal Control to determine what the next step is. I don't know the history behind these, if there's any other complaints with these animals, with these dogs, but it would be up to the courts and the suggestion of Animal Control what happens to the dogs from here.
Officer Stuart Hackworth, thank you for joining us from the Roy Police Department.
Oh, okay. This incident happened in Roy yesterday. It was going down at a park, and they said the officer said what drew everybody's attention, it looked like the dogs initially were starting to go after a child in that area.
And really, as he was describing this shocking behavior from these dogs, these 3 dogs that are going after a horse, that when the officer was approaching them, one was kind of circling around behind the officer, and 2 were coming from, it almost sounds like hunting behavior. Very, very odd behavior as he was describing that. I've never seen a pack of dogs act like that.
Our newsroom will continue to follow up on this. It's a developing story this morning as we're getting more information about what happened yesterday afternoon in Roy, and obviously if there's another victim out there, it's a child. Police would certainly want to hear from their parents, just to see what's going on, making sure the child is doing okay. So straight ahead, President Trump promising to eliminate taxes on tips. If you're a server, if you know a server, if you've ever been a server, you'll want to hear what Jay Evenson, opinion editor of the Deseret News, has to say.
For those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. A new complaint hotline is available now through the state auditor's office for citizens to report violations of Utah's new DEI law. State Auditor John Dougal says they've already seen some phony complaints.
We have gotten some frivolous complaints. The last count I heard was 27, but that's a small number relative to what we experienced on the other complaint forum.
The other complaint system was for violations of the law requiring people to use the restrooms in public buildings corresponding to their sex at birth. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A whistleblower who works for Boeing says defective parts that should have been scrapped were being put back into airplanes. That's one of the issues that Boeing's CEO is being asked to address in his testimony before a Senate committee today. The company has also been blamed for deadly crashes and a number of other safety incidents. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average and the NASDAQ, both just barely down on the day. And our KSL weather looks like we'll warm right up through the end of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
For decades, you guys have trusted Master Electrical Service for all your electrical needs, EV chargers, generators, recessed lighting, all of that good stuff. But we have some exciting news to announce. Master Electrical Service has joined Mountain Home Services.
That's right. Master Electrical has been your trusted source for all your electrical needs. Your EV chargers, your generators, your new ceiling fans, that recessed lighting in your home. Well, now they've joined Mountain Home Services.
And that means they can help you with your HVAC needs, heating and air, plumbing, and all of that comes with their upfront pricing guarantee.
That upfront pricing guarantee is so key because that means that the price that they quote you up front is the price you pay when the job is done, and there are no hidden fees.
Yeah, I think we've all been bitten by those bids in the past where the invoice is not exactly the same as the bid. So go ahead. We trust Mountain Home Services, and so can you. Go to mountainhomeutah.com to learn more. mountainhomeutah.com.
At Common Spirit Health, we don't just see a cancer diagnosis. We see you, and you don't have to do this alone. We believe you should be surrounded by your people, so you can keep them close while you get care close to home. Supported by our care team from diagnosis to treatment and beyond, and strengthened by treatment tailored to you. Because there's no one-size-fits-all approach to cancer care. Find cancer care with human kindness close to you at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
He sponsored the largest tax cut in Utah's history and complains it wasn't big enough. He always rounds numbers down. He bought a turtle for a family pet because it eats less. He's Republican John Dougal, the most frugal man in the world.
I'm John Dougal, candidate for Congress. I'm reusing my state auditor campaign ad to save money. Congress needs to stop wasting money too. It's clearly time to frugal DC.
Vote frugal. Vote John Dougal.
I approve this message. Paid for by friends to elect frugal Dougal.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we are accident-free across the Wasatch Front right now, but we do have several areas of lane restrictions. One of them is going to be on Redwood Road. That is southbound over Indiana Avenue, which is 900 South. Everybody has to shift into the median if you're heading southbound on Redwood Road there. And then if you continue south and you get to the interchange of 2100 South Redwood Road, you have the lanes blocked, the right lane blocked, both north and westbound. Otherwise, you have pretty good drive on all the freeways. Hey, Utah, summer has come alive. All better in a new vehicle from Murdoch Hyundai. Receive 2.99% for 5 years on a Tucson Limited or 3.49% for 5 years on an Elantra SEL. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cool again today with a high of only 72 degrees. A warm-up starts tomorrow with a high of 85, and then we're back into the 90s for the rest of the week. Right now, 58 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomis from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
So when politicians are on the campaign, got their little stump speech, they've planned things, sometimes they throw out some new ideas, new plans, new policies. And that is exactly what former President Donald Trump said when he was in Las Vegas. And he said, you know what? For all you hotel workers, casino workers, I got a new plan for you.
For those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
No more taxes on tips. And if you're in a place like Las Vegas where there's so many tips, everywhere you turn, you're getting tipped left and right or asked to contribute another 20%. On top of that, Jay Evenson joins us right now from the Deseret News, the opinion editor there, Jay. And you're taking a little bit of an issue with this idea that we should just stop taxing these tips of our poor servers.
He said the same thing in Florida, too. So this is turning into kind of a theme for his campaign. And it's interesting to me because the opinion polls show Americans are tired of the tipping everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just when you go to a restaurant, I think people expect to have to tip. But now it's fast food, it's takeout. The other day I was on Amazon, I was buying a T-shirt for someone, and I was asked, would you like to give a tip to the artist who designed this T-shirt? And I thought, no, but I assume that person is getting paid for the work that he's doing. So it's interesting to me that he would go after this at a time when Americans in general don't like tipping. It's becoming kind of a thorn in our side in everyday life.
There's a couple things about tipping. Number one, I totally agree. I cannot believe the different companies that allow this to happen, right? I'll order a soda and they have a tip jar there. And they try to make it fun, and they say, are you a BYU Cougars fan or a Utes fan? And put $1 in there. They try every different way to get a little tip. So, yeah, I do feel that fatigue, the tipping fatigue. Yeah. Why do you think it would be even worse if we were to remove taxation on tips?
Well, there's an old adage that says whatever you want more of, you tax less. And so if we remove taxes, first of all, let's be honest about this. He would have to have Congress approve such a thing. The president just can't remove a tax from something in office. The Congress holds the purse strings. But if you were to succeed in removing this tax, you would see our economy become much more tip-based. The Wall Street Journal was kind of joking about, well, perhaps when you get your car fixed, they'll say, well, it's $100 for the repair, but if you'd like to tip us $400 or $500, please feel free. Here, we'll turn the little screen around so you can push a button here and decide what you want to do. So, and that's the first problem. The second problem is I'm not sure what problem we're trying to solve, or what kind of good tax policy we're trying to enact by doing this. It seems more just something to try to get votes, honestly.
Well, we do cut taxes, and Republicans have a long history of promoting tax cuts, and this is a very specific tax cut. I think that most people could wrap their head around, right? If you're a server, you can say, oh, okay, I no longer have to claim this as income. Oftentimes when we get tax cuts, we're not exactly sure how it trickles down to me. But I also wonder if we're playing a little honesty game here, if we're talking to our servers, and we have tens of thousands of servers here in Utah right now, are you claiming all of your tips right now? And like I said, when I go get a soda and I'm dropping $1 in the tip jar, are they divvying that out, and are they claiming that? Like, how many servers are fully embracing taking all of that, and when they're filling out their taxes, they're accounting for every one of those dollars?
No question, the tipping is being underreported. But even what is being reported, according to Reason Magazine, about $38 billion a year is being reported, and that would disappear then from the tax rolls, and we'd have to either find some way to replace that money, or it just add it to the debt, which is not what we need to be doing right now.
And though I totally agree with you, that's not a huge amount. $38 billion when we have $1 trillion budget. Mm-hmm. I know $1 billion here and $1 billion there. Next thing we're talking real money, but I wonder how much of a relief that is, because I have a couple kids that are servers. They get paid $2.13 an hour. Right. On every table, they have to pay an additional 3% to the busboy, the host staff. So if they get stiffed on a tip, then they still have to pay that 3% to the house, so to speak. Yeah. And they're only making $2.13 an hour, so they truly do live on tips. So I can see the temptation, or why that would be so meaningful for these servers that have such wildly fluctuating incomes, because sometimes they'll make hundreds of dollars in a shift. Others, they'll walk away with very little. So it would be a way, I think, that makes the serving business a little less volatile.
Well, who knows? And I say this in the column. Maybe we would prefer to have sort of a pick your own price kind of economy. We tip in part to ensure good service, right? So you want to reward good service. And maybe we would like to have lower prices everywhere in the economy and just add the tip that you think it's worth. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people would end up not tipping. One thing I suggest, which I think would be popular, is to move all politicians' salaries to zero, and then when you fill out your income tax forms in April, at the bottom would be a little box saying, how much would you like to tip your governor, your senator, or other people in office? I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, I'm sure with their approval rating in the single digits, they would not pass that on any level. But I do wonder if this incentive for workers to do an exceptional job, because when you are really tip based, I think you get a better effort. And sometimes there's been a temptation to say, hey, let's make serving $15 an hour or whatever it might be. But every server I've ever talked to, when I say, would you rather have the volatility of tips where you can make $30 or $40 an hour, or would you like the good and steady $16 an hour? And every server I've ever talked to, they say, I love the tips because I can make more money with tips than I can just a flat wage.
Interesting. Well, and I think that's probably true. My main concern with this is that we still don't have any candidate who will look us in the eye and say, we have a fiscal problem. We are spending way much more than we have. And I think we're adding about $1 trillion to the debt every 100 days or so, which is just out of control. We need a candidate who's going to look us in the eye and say, look, this is going to be painful, but here's what we have to do. We have to cut this, that, the other. We have to reform Social Security, and we have to raise taxes. And so this seems like kind of a gimmick where what we really need is some straight talk.
Let's take phone calls on this. 801-575-TALK. How do you feel about former President Trump's pitch to get rid of taxation on tips? So your servers that are out there, you no longer have to claim this as income. That's what President Trump wants. 801-575-TALK.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
The fight to defeat the swamp, defend our constitutional liberties, and put America first starts in Utah with conservative outsider Trent Staggs. As mayor of Riverton, Staggs stood up to Rhino Mitt Romney, fought against unconstitutional government COVID lockdowns and mandates, and Staggs was the first candidate to endorse President Donald Trump. Now, conservative Trent Staggs will continue to defend our conservative values by taking the fight to Washington, D.C. and defeating the swamp. In Congress, Staggs will partner with fellow conservative Rand Paul to protect our constitutional liberties, end taxpayer-funded handouts to Ukraine, secure our border, and deport illegal aliens. That's why Trent Staggs has earned President Trump and Senator Rand Paul's complete and total endorsement. A proven conservative, taking the fight to the Washington swamp. Trent Staggs for U.S. Senate. Protect Freedom PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.protectfreedompac.com.
This week's movie show is brought to you by Sound Sleep Medical. Get a free sleep screening and a free sleep consultation by tuning in on Friday morning. Sound Sleep Medical with 7 locations in Utah.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why our over 23,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with a needs analysis where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no money down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You know, I love it when something just clicks. I carried around way too much weight for way too long. Then everything changed. What clicked? For me, what clicked was Soda Weight Loss. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art because it is. It's state-of-the-art, and that is why it clicked for me. Having my own nutritionist and coach every step of the way clicked. Not worrying about counting things or mixing this and that, it clicked. Breaking bad emotional eating habits and replacing them with good, healthy habits that will stay with me forever, it just clicked. You know what else clicked? My belt. I lost 37 pounds in 90 days. As the pounds and inches fell away, my belt started to click. A lot. Who knew that the clicking from my belt would become the sound of my success every day for 2.5 years and counting? I always say that when it comes to your soda weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So start winning today. Make the decision that will click for you and change every day for the rest of your life. Check it out at Soda Weight Loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
I support Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council because she's a collaborative leader.
I support Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County because she's conservative. I support Rochelle Morris for County Council because she has the experience and skills to get the job done.
Rochelle Morris will work hard for all of us who call Salt Lake County home.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message because I'm ready to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. We need leaders on the County Council who will make sure our parks are safe for our families to enjoy. We need innovative leaders who will stop property tax increases and be wise stewards of taxpayer money. I would love to earn your vote in the Republican primary on June 25th. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com. Again, that's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, a new hotline meant to take complaints about Utah's new DEI law was set up early in case phony complaints come in. Second, a whistleblower who says defective parts were used by Boeing in airplanes is complicating an appearance by Boeing's CEO before a Senate committee. And third, Utah's new NHL team is named head of its hockey operations. 58 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Former President Trump is campaigning on tax cuts. Now, he did this when he was in office, about $2.5 trillion worth of tax cuts, largely corporate tax cuts. Well, this is more for the everyday man and woman. And he's talking about cutting taxes on tips. You're like, tips?
For those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Jay Evenson, opinion editor of the Deseret News, joins me right now. And Jay, this is something that you wrote about, and I love it. I love the topic. I think it's a great discussion because we have tip fatigue, no question. We're tired of them turning around that iPad and staring at 20, 25, 30%, and then we guiltily say zero.
Well, yeah, it takes a bit of bravery because you do feel pressure. The server, the hair cutter, who I guess barber, whoever it has just served you is looking over your shoulder as you push a button. And you wonder, next time I come in, am I going to get worse service because I didn't push 30%?
Right. And I do wonder, though, and we're taking phone calls on this, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. How do you feel about this new plan, the proposal from Donald Trump to stop taxing tips? And I'll tell you, I'm not entirely convinced, and I don't say this just broadly. I've talked to servers. When they're being totally honest, they're not counting all of their tips as income. We're taking your phone calls. Alex and Sandy, what do you think?
Yeah, simply on the Trump proposal, I think it's a gimmick. That's the very simple thing. I think it's a gimmick. As far as taxes go, obviously, we probably need more, as hard as the pill that is to swallow.
Yeah.
But I did want to add something to a comment you made previously, Dave, and hi, Deb. I was a server about 30 years ago, and I've known people in that industry off and on over the last 40 years. And I can tell you from personal experience, Alex is not my name. I can tell you from personal experience.
I know where this is going, Alex.
I can tell you from personal experience, not one person ever claimed 100% of their tips. Zero exactly.
Oh,
yours truly included, by the way.
Hey, listen, is it wrong if everyone's doing it? Alex, thanks.
Well, yeah, it's not a morality question. I think it's just more of a kid with a candy jar that's open, and so everybody's going to want to take a piece. I think.
So true.
Anyway, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
No, thanks, Alex. Air quote Alex. Thanks, air quote Alex. We appreciate that. We do. We do appreciate that phone call because Jay, I do think that is a problem. I think right now. Who's doing the audit on that? Who's tracking down what you made on some random Friday in December?
It may be that this is the easiest tax cut to ever impose because it has very little impact. If very few people are reporting it. What's the difference between not taxing it?
And you saw some numbers of how much this may cost in lost revenue.
Well, the Wall Street Journal today, as a matter of fact, quotes the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, which is a private advocacy group. They estimate that it would cost at least $150 billion over 10 years. So what's that, $15 billion a year?
A year.
And I quoted earlier figures about $38 billion per year. So clearly, we don't know. We don't know how much how much is collected every year, and we absolutely don't know how much ought to be collected. I don't know how you would audit that.
Well, and let's be practical about this. If you're a server, you're working 4 or 5 days a week. This is your full-time gig. Are they tracking every single dollar that they have a pockets full of cash because people will drop, here's some change, here's some dollar bills, they're all crumpled up and they just stuff them in. Are they routinely doing an audit and tracking and No, of course not. And as we just heard from air quote Alex, no one's claiming the full amount of their tips. Janice in Taylorsville. What do you think, Janice?
Yes. I don't know if anybody realized what tips really stand for. It's a acronym, and it's to ensure prompt service. And people don't realize that, and I feel like waitresses, I think they should get a wage and not just tips, because it is true, you give cash to them, that they'll put it in their pocket if it's a credit card. But nowadays, it's just ridiculous that they have a tip jar everywhere so that they think they can get more money out of it.
Yeah. It's free money, and businesses like it because the tip, that's something they don't have to pay for. If you're an employer and you're paying someone an hourly wage, then you're responsible for that. A tip is above and beyond. They don't need to worry about it. In fact, my daughter, when she was looking for a job, the company was paying $7 an hour as minimum wage, but they said you'll probably make somewhere around $9 or $10 an hour with tips. But again, for the company, they're only out minimum wage. So thank you, Janice. Do we have another phone call coming in, Mitch? Mitch is producing right now. I see that he is typing. But Jay Evenson with the Deseret News is joining us. You touched on something, and I think it's a serious conversation we need to have, and we can't hash it all out in the next 2 minutes, but it's tax cuts sound great. None of us like paying taxes, but the problem is that reduces the tax revenue, and we're not reducing our spending, so all of a sudden that debt grows.
Well, and Republicans will tell you, and I think there's some truth to it, that we do not have a taxation problem. We have a spending problem. And we need to address that. I mean, it is really out of control. And we also know that Social Security is reaching a crisis point in less than 10 years. We need to approach that, or we're going to have to really go into debt to try to fix that problem. So, yeah, that's what we need, in my opinion, is a real serious discussion about our fiscal state in this economy right now and what we need to do to fix it. And nobody wants to do that because it's painful.
I totally agree with your conclusion in your piece in the Deseret News, where you say if this happens, and it seems like President Trump is talking about just the service industry, we would see this quote-unquote tax or this tipping in every job out there because, again, it would just all be untaxed. So every company in the world would start saying everything is a quote-unquote tip, whether it is a conventional tip the way you think about it or not. I think you hit it the nail on the head. Jay Evenson, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you read all of Jay's stuff at the Deseret News, opinion editor there. Thanks, Jay. When we come back, guess what? No Boyd Matheson. Instead, we're going to talk to Taylor Morgan about Donald Trump officially endorsing Representative Celeste Malloy.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Parts of northern Utah could see freezing temperatures again tonight. That's after the very windy cold front moved across the state, dropped our temperatures by 30 degrees last evening.
So the highs today will barely crack 70 degrees across the Wasatch Front today. It won't even get to 70 up in the Cache Valley. So, yeah, a little bit chillier today.
National Weather Service meteorologist Nicole DeSmet tells David Dujanovic the super strong winds are gone. She also says the below-average temperatures will soon disappear. We could even be back near 100 by the weekend. The Smith Entertainment Group has named Chris Armstrong as the president of its hockey operations. Armstrong was an executive with the Wasserman Group, a talent and marketing firm that helped to manage the career of Utah golfer Tony Finau, among others. The Utah Hockey Club still doesn't have an official name or mascot. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Amazon warehouse workers in New York City have now affiliated with the Teamsters Union. The vote was almost unanimous. There are 5,500 workers on Staten Island. So far, the only Amazon warehouse that's been successful in organizing a union. They're still trying to get a first contract worked out with the company. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down just a bit right now, 11 points or so. The NASDAQ is up, but only by about 5. And our KSL weather looks like we'll see a warm-up through the rest of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Your neighbor Greg loves summers in Utah, but he hates to paint, so he called Rhino Shield.
We live in a beautiful two-story home that was built in 1916. Really been prepped and painted very, very poorly.
Rhino Shield ceramic technology is formulated for our unique climate here in Utah and is Class 1 fire rated.
We really had a lot of detail work, and the team at Rhino Shield spent really 4 days just on the prep work, and we were so excited to see that. And the cleanup was just impeccable.
Utah, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 10% off the regular price.
We've gotten numerous compliments, and we've actually even had some of the longer-term residents of our community thank us for protecting the integrity of our home.
This offer is limited, so call now 435-246-4466. 435-246-4466 or rhinoshieldwest.com.
Go Rhino Shield! The Utah RV Palooza is back and packed with new and used RVs to fit every budget. June 20th through the 22nd, come to the largest free RV show in the area at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. You'll find monthly payments starting under $149 on approved credit for select new RVs like a new 2024 GoPlay 19 BH travel trailer. You'll also find huge savings on used motorhomes. We've got select 2023 and 2024 low mileage models from Thor and Jayco heavily discounted. The best deals don't last, so start shopping now at Bishes.com/Utah RV Palooza Sandy. And make sure you tour the full lineup of GoPlay travel trailers, one of the fastest growing RV brands in Utah. Get special financing options like 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. And if you've got a trade, we want it. Get an additional $1,000 toward your travel trailer or fifth wheel trade-in. See dealer for details. Admission is free to the Utah RV Palooza, Thursday, June 20th through Saturday, June 22nd at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. Sponsored by Bishes RV. Stock number L75163 based on 20% down, 8.99% APR. year for 180 months, subject to prior sales. See dealer for details.
When Utah calls, Celeste Malloy delivers. Celeste is a principled yet effective congresswoman who stands up, shows up, and doesn't bow down. Utah can't afford another do-nothing politician. No chaos, no empty rhetoric, and no pandering. Just results. Vote Celeste Malloy for Congress. Paid for by Duty Service Honor PAC and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. P.O. Box 369, Snohomish, Washington 98291. Duty Service Honor PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising. This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep Medical. But first, take the time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep Medical delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. In the days of a poor night's sleep, Sound Sleep Medical will help. Call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-716-8672 for details. Sound Sleep Medical.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, we have a tip from a caller that we have the lights being replaced at 5400 South and 1070 West. Also, if you're making your way eastbound on the 201 freeway, that right lane is blocked at 8400 West. Get down to the Utah Arts Festival June 28th through June 30th to celebrate art, including music, dance, film, street performers, and hands-on fun for kids of all ages. Buy tickets at uaf.org. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cool again today with a high only 72 degrees. A warm-up starts tomorrow with a high of 85. We're back into the 90s for the rest of the week. And right now, 59 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Representative Celeste Malloy officially got an endorsement. It happened yesterday from Donald Trump. You see the news on that, Dave?
I did. It's big news, I think, for Representative Malloy.
KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more details on that.
Congresswoman Malloy came on to KSL at night to discuss her endorsement, and she says this is great news for her campaign because of the other endorsements she's received.
President Trump and the governor and the House delegation all say, hey, we've worked with her and we know she's a fierce advocate for Utah. Really helps the voters.
However, her opponent, GOP challenger Colby Jenkins, also came on the show and says voters want someone who doesn't switch stances for an endorsement.
The question would be, would the real Celeste Malloy stand up? I don't know who she is. She goes from calling President Trump a dictator to now she's counting her blessings that he even knows who she is.
Jenkins says that even without an endorsement from former President Trump, he promises voters consistent defense of conservative values. Michael Commit, KSL News Radio.
This is one thing during the debate between Malloy and Jenkins that Representative Malloy brought up. She said, I've worked with the Trump administration in the past when she was a staffer back in D.C., and she said, I got the endorsement of the people that worked under Trump. So the people that I've directly worked with, they endorse me. So the fact that Trump knows her and endorsed her, maybe a little surprising that it's this late in the game, but I guess maybe not surprising when you've actually worked directly with that administration.
Colby Jenkins getting the backing of U.S. Senator Mike Lee early on in this campaign. Senator Lee put his endorsement behind Jenkins right out of the gates. And, of course, the primary deadline is a week away, right? June 25th. Taylor Morgan, host of KSL at Night, also partner at Morgan May Consultants. You were on the air last night for KSL at Night when you were talking to both of these candidates. What was your sense of how important this endorsement was to Malloy? And then let's talk about endorsements in general.
Yeah, Dave, Debbie, great to be with you. Debbie, this endorsement by former President Trump yesterday 8 days before the end of the primary election cycle for the 3rd Congressional District sent shockwaves throughout, Utah's political landscape. Of course, this has been one of the primary talking points by Celeste Malloy's opponent, Colby Jenkins. I think Dave referenced some of his lines at the recent 3rd Congressional District debate. Frankly, Colby Jenkins has been running against Congresswoman Celeste Malloy, claiming that Donald Trump would not trust her, and that if Donald Trump were to win re-election in November, that Celeste Malloy would not be able to work with a Trump administration. However, this endorsement that came yesterday clearly refutes that claim, puts that to rest. The only question, Dave and Debbie, is coming just 8 days before the end of the primary election, will it have enough of an impact to help Celeste Malloy win?
In part, what surprised me on this, Taylor, was that Senator Mike Lee had thrown his weight behind Colby Jenkins, and Mike Lee and Donald Trump have been together. They've campaigned together. So I think the fact that they're not on the same page here, that was one of the big surprising moments for me.
Yeah, Dave, you're absolutely right. And according to some sources within Senator Mike Lee's campaign and office, we were told yesterday that Senator Mike Lee's team was totally surprised by this endorsement. They did not know it was coming. They did not expect it. They were surprised by it. And I do think that speaks volumes about Donald Trump's relationship with Celeste Malloy and relatively also with Mike Lee.
We're on the line right now with Taylor Morgan, host of KSL at Night. He was on the air yesterday afternoon when we all got the news that former President Donald Trump had chosen to endorse current Congresswoman Celeste Malloy in her campaign to keep her seat in Congress. And I wonder in general, Taylor, what you think of endorsements. I think kind of all have gone back and forth on whether they matter or not. But in general, what do you think? Do they matter?
Well, it's a great question, Debbie. Usually I am pretty skeptical about endorsements, and I really don't think that they have much of an impact. However, there are always exceptions. I do think that in a competitive Republican primary election cycle in 2024, when we know that Donald Trump is going to be the Republican Party's nominee for president in November, I do think that his endorsement can have an impact. We have seen that in the U.S. Senate race with Trent Staggs following the Donald Trump endorsement of Riverton Mayor Trent Staggs in that race. He brought in significant fundraising. His fundraising really ticked up following the Donald Trump endorsement. Similarly, here in the 2nd Congressional District race between Celeste Malloy and Colby Jenkins, in which Colby Jenkins has made Donald Trump his number one talking point and campaign issue, I do think that this endorsement of Celeste Malloy is impactful. And this is not just a casual endorsement by Donald Trump of Celeste Malloy for the 2nd District. It is, quote, complete and total endorsement. And Donald Trump went on to be very specific about reasons why he's endorsing Celeste Malloy in the 2nd District. He said that, quote, Celeste is fighting to secure the border, create jobs, restore American energy independence, support our military veterans, defend religious liberty, and protect our always under siege Second Amendments, end quote. So this was not a canned, copy-paste, rubber stamp type of endorsement. This was a very personal and a very specific endorsement by Donald Trump of Celeste Malloy for the 2nd District. I think that is impactful. And again, the only question is, coming 8 days before June 25th, will this have enough of an impact that it really helps Celeste Malloy win re-election?
We're speaking with Taylor Morgan. He's the host of KSL at Night, a partner of Morgan May Consultants. And I know that you've run so many political campaigns in the past. How do these negotiations or endorsements happen? Is there back channel discussions? Do you have to meet with folks? How does it work behind the scenes?
Oh, that is a great It is a difficult process. It takes a lot of communication over a long period of time. To be honest with you, Dave, sometimes you just have to leverage a personal or a family connection. We saw that with the Mitt Romney endorsement of Stuart Pay for the 3rd Congressional District. That family relationship, I think, really helped, grease the wheels, so to speak, there for that endorsement. These endorsements, especially by prominent political figures, are difficult to get. It takes a lot of effort and coordination. And, we should also point out that Congresswoman Celeste Moy has been endorsed by every other member of Utah's House delegation as well. So she is not only endorsed by Utah House members, but also by Donald Trump. A lot of credit to the Celeste Moy campaign for bringing this in. I personally wish they would have had it a month ago, but it is a big deal.
Taylor Morgan, thank you for joining us. Look forward to hearing you on KSL at night. Thanks, Taylor.
And I would say that by next Wednesday, we'll know if it is a big deal. I mean, we might not be able to draw direct connection one way or the other, but once we start hearing some results from next Tuesday's primary, we'll have a better idea as to whether endorsements do matter.
Yeah, and people have already filled out their ballots and sent them in. So to Taylor's point, she probably wishes this came a month ago because there's already been people that have cast their votes. Maybe this would have been a deciding factor for them because in that debate between Jenkins and Malloy, you and I both commented how often Colby Jenkins brought up Donald Trump's name and how important it was for him to win the White House in November. So a really fascinating turn of events.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Who is the most interesting candidate for Senate? John Curtis, of course. Serving as mayor, he didn't just improve public services, he transformed Provo into one of the best-run cities in the country, all while cutting the budget, leaving with an unheard-of 94% approval rating. In Congress, Curtis was named one of the most effective lawmakers. Curtis voted repeatedly to stop Washington's reckless spending and secure the border. Protecting farmers and ranchers from government overreach, he transferred more federal land to Utah than anyone else in state history. He authored legislation in Congress to hold China accountable. Now John Curtis is running for Senate. Unlike typical politicians, Curtis gets things done. Vote conservative John Curtis for U.S. Senate in the Republican primary on or before June 25th. EDF Action Votes is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by EDF Action Votes, edfactionvotes.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
With just days to go before primary ballots are counted, cast your vote for KSL News Radio. Choose Tim and Amanda each morning for important local stories from 5 to 9. Elect to include Dave and Dujanovic and Boyd Matheson for daily analysis of the campaigns. And on your ride home, write in Jeff Kaplan from 3 to 7. It's your voice, your vote, your station for election coverage. KSL News Radio.
One of the things we love here at KSL News Radio is to focus on Utah being ready. It's part of the Be Ready Utah campaign, and joining us right now from the Utah Division of Emergency Management and Be Ready Utah is Wade Matthews. Wade, let's discuss the sharp rise in wildfires, especially recently.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that we need to be aware of, that we're in that time of year. A lot of these are human caused. We want to try to reduce those numbers. We could be in the summertime seeing thunderstorms, a lot of lightning strikes causing wildfires. They happen. Especially we need to be concerned if we're living in the wildland-urban interfaces where urban area meets forest. That's the danger area of wildfire season and what to do there.
Wade Matthews with the Utah Division of Emergency Management and Be Ready Utah talking to us about wildfires, and tell us what we need to do to start getting prepared now, Wade.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing we need to be thinking about is preparing to evacuate. That's the protective action. We call the knowing what to do to survive a disaster, and that's protective action. In wildfire, that's evacuation. You have no choice. You can't do anything else. Hiding in the basement or, something else is not going to save you. You have to be prepared to evacuate. So that's the first step. Second thing is having your disaster supply kit ready to go. Keep that up to date with, of course, food, water, medications, clothing, all those tools that you need to survive and get through a disaster. Make sure you're, a couple times a year checking those things, expiration dates, make sure the batteries are going to work in there, they're fresh batteries, etc. And then so we think about the disaster supply kit. But the last thing that we want to talk about here is, what else do you want to take with you if you have to evacuate? If you know your house is threatened by wildfire and there may be nothing left when you come back, what about all those other irreplaceable valuables? Things like grandma's wedding rings and grandpa's war medals, things about valuables, jewelry, cash collections, coin collections, stamp collections, things like that, journals and photo albums. Those aren't things we typically keep in a disaster supply kit, but in an evacuation order for a wildfire, if you've got time, you want to get those things.
Wade Matthews, thank you for joining us from the Utah Division of Emergency Management and Be Ready Utah. Be Ready, I'm trying to remember the website.
BeReady.utah.gov.
.gov.
Yeah,
right.
.gov.
I'll get it here eventually.
Wade, stick around. We're going to talk more about evacuation plans and how to make sure the rest of our family members are safe.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, there's another chilly night ahead before temperatures return to normal in northern Utah. Second, an executive from a sports talent and management group will be the head of hockey operations for Utah's NHL team. Third, Amazon warehouse workers in New York City have voted to join the Teamsters. 59 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
The Utah Taxpayers Association released a report this morning. We talked about it in our 9 o'clock hour, and now we're going to get a different perspective on it. The report is specifically about our community rec centers, the places that we go to play racquetball, our kids go to swim, all the fun things. The Cliff Notes version of the Utah Taxpayers Association report is that these rec centers tend to lose millions and millions of dollars a year.
And they're expensive to construct, expensive to renovate, expensive to maintain, and to operate. You've got all of these things going in, and right now they are largely funded through property taxes. And that's, when you're looking at it, sure, when people show up and they pay that $8 for the day pass, or maybe they buy a monthly pass for $20 or $30, it's just not paying for all the costs of the rec center.
Let me just run through some of the losses. Now, the Taxpayers Association did not survey every single rec center across Utah. They picked 6, and of those 6, they found that one had turned a profit. It was the Provo Rec Center, and that profit that they turned in 2022 was $34,447.
So it was a rounding error. I mean, that is not a lot of money, because especially when you look at the other 5 that they looked into, they're losing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Murray suffered a loss of almost $1.1 million. The South Davis Rec Center, where Dave hung out as a child, suffered a loss just under the $3 million mark in 2022, Dave.
But the real winner is the Ochre Recreation and Parks District. They lost $3.2 million, and that's comparing the expenses to the revenues. And when you're operating in that kind of a loss, I think we need to re-examine it and figure out, what are we doing wrong? Are we expanding? Are we contracting? How do we make this math work?
The mathematician in me says, yeah, you're right. I'm not a mathematician. But the mom in me says, keep them going. These are great facilities for our kids. They're a lot of fun. My kids took swimming lessons there. They played basketball there. I know the high school teams practice and hold their games at these facilities. Amy Winder-Newton with Salt Lake County Council. She's a member of the Salt Lake County Council. Good morning, Amy.
Hello. Well, can I tell you guys what's interesting about this report? Because I was reading it this morning. They did not use any Salt Lake County rec centers as examples. And I want to tell you why, if I can brag for a minute, why how we do our rec centers is so awesome. First of all, half of our expenses in our rec centers are paid for by program revenues. So we have to make up the other half, right? But how we do it is not through property tax. We use ZAP tax, TRT, which is tourism dollars that come from hotel taxes, and track funds, TRCC, which is car rental tax and restaurant taxes. Interestingly enough, the ZAP tax, we have people actually vote on to say, do you want 0.1% of your sales tax to go to zoo, arts, and parks, which include the rec center piece, and 70% say yes every time. So it's an incredibly popular tax, if there is such a thing. And that's how we fund our rec centers. And so when I'm looking at these other rec centers that are, they've divided them up into districted ones, those that have like a special service district, and then city-run ones, they didn't even include Salt Lake County in any of these as they assess those. And so anyway, just want to put that out there. We're pretty proud of how we fund it, because we feel like, yes, of course, you're going to have to use some of these tax dollars to pay for these. This is why the private sector doesn't come in and just build rec centers.
Well, I think, Amy,
we do it in a good way.
I was going to say, I think as we look for solutions, if we want these rec centers, I don't know that we want them to turn huge profits. I'm not expecting them to be run as though, they're a multi-million-dollar company. But if we want them to sustain and be self-sustaining, maybe the best way to do it is to capture some of that tourism money and put it back into our communities for our kids.
Absolutely, because we see so much benefit from these gathering places for people. If you look at the data, we had 32% of our Utah youth who felt sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more in a row during the past year. We had 18% of our Utah youth seriously consider suicide in the past year. We have a mental health crisis, especially among our youth. And so when we're looking at how can we help prevent that, we've talked before, putting devices down, going out and playing, having that human connection with others, engaging with your family in fun activities. These are things that help our mental health, our human connection. They're good protective factors. And so I believe rec centers do that very thing.
I wonder, though, if the private sector couldn't accomplish the same thing. I'm looking at one, Vasa Fitness Center. It's $25 a month, which is even cheaper than some of these rec centers that were in this report. Some of these rec centers are $31, $27, $25 per month, and they don't have any tax money coming in to support them, and they're able to do it even cheaper than these rec centers.
So then it makes me wonder, well, why aren't they doing it? Why aren't they promoting this as a recreation center and not just a gym or some other facility? And I think it's because they can't fulfill the needs of the entire family. They may have a more niche market that they're going after, adults, for instance. So, because one of the things that we do with our rec centers is not only do we have climbing walls and pools and, gyms and places for people to play, but we also run programs. So we have junior jazz, we have, pick any sport. And in Salt Lake County, you can go sign up at the county rec center near you for a minimal cost to have your child participate. And so the programs that's something that we do that you don't see with private facilities.
I'm thinking back to when my kids were much younger. We would sign them up for different summer camp type programs through the rec center, the Cottonwood Heights Rec Center right across the street from where we lived. And they did things like art in the park. They went on some field trips around the valley. And for us, that was a great way to help our kids stay active in the summer with 2 working parents, Amy.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we're really excited that we're doing free rec center passes for our kids.
This is true.
For this next year.
Yeah,
so, and it's for that exact purpose. We want kids to have something to do and good, positive, healthy things to do. I mean, we have other health issues that we are concerned about, obesity, and we want kids to have good exercise and everything else, and that's what these rec centers do for our kids.
Salt Lake County Councilmember Amy Winder-Newton, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We'll have more on this as we continue our coverage today right here on KSL News Radio.
Well, and as she said, in Salt Lake County, they're offering these free passes for the summer, and it's expected to cost around $2 million to implement that program. And again, that's great for the families that it does affect, but this is being paid by tax money. Whether it's a ZAP tax, a TRT tax, or it's a property tax, it's still being subsidized by your tax dollars. And when I look at it, I think we need to say, okay, if it costs $6 million in expenses to run a rec center, then we need to be in the ballpark in some way, or be creative, or maybe scale back, because all these numbers, they don't even take into account the cost of the rec center itself, that bonding, the $40 or $50 million it takes. They're not counting that. So they are extremely expensive. I think that's a very strong point that this report made.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour: 3 dogs running loose in Roy yesterday afternoon bit a couple of people. Roy City Police safely contained the dogs, took them to the Weber County Animal Shelter. Roy City Officer Stuart Hackworth says they're not sure what's going to happen to the dogs next.
Up to animal control to determine what the next step is. I don't know the history behind these, if there's any other complaints with these animals.
The breed of the dog is still unknown. The owners have been cited. The Big Draw wildfire in Duchesne County now has covered about 500 acres. Utah Fire Info reports some residents who'd been evacuated overnight have chosen to return. Cool weather is helping the firefighters today. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Senate Democrats trying to pass a bill today banning bump stocks. Those are devices that allow shooters to rapidly fire a semi-automatic rifle. This comes just days after the Supreme Court struck down the ATF rule banning bump stocks. To overcome a filibuster, the measure would need the support of 60 senators. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average and the NASDAQ, both up just a little bit today. And our KSL weather looks like another cool day, but then things warm up for the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Let's talk about evacuation. If there's a wildfire, and there has been some wildfires that have already started popping up here in Utah, do you know where to go, what to do? So joining us right now is Wade Matthews with the Utah Division of Emergency Management and Be Ready Utah. Wade, if we're evacuating, if we're getting out, number one, where do we go? What should the plan be?
Awesome question. Thank you. So, as the officials, the emergency responders are anticipating the need to evacuate, to issue an evacuation order, they're going to give other officials a heads up. We need a place for these people to go. A lot of times we're going to call the American Red Cross. They're a great partner that will come and set up shelters, typically in church buildings, in schools, high school, elementary schools, those types of places. There will be something like that in the vicinity of an evacuation order. What most people do, however, is just go to relatives and friends' homes outside of the danger area, the evacuated area, where they're comfortable and they know they can stay there and not have strangers around. So that's where most people will go, but usually there will be a shelter opened.
Wade Matthews with the Utah Division of Emergency Management, and you can find a ton of tips at beready.utah.gov, including what to put in your disaster supply kit, what important documents to have ready to go. And when I think of wildfires, I think of those images we saw last year out of Maui where people were trying to evacuate, and it almost seemed like it was too late, so they were running for the ocean. Wade, I mean, I would suggest, what do you suggest in that situation? I guess you can wait too long to get out.
Yes, you can. Again, when that evacuation order comes, there usually should be a time frame associated with it, how much time you have to get out, and stick to that. Don't wait any longer. Don't push past it. Don't think, I'm not going to evacuate. I'm going to stay here and defend my home. Most cases, you're not going to be able to do that. But in Maui, most of those homes were burned to the ground. There was nothing left. It's important, along with your disaster supply kit and other valuables, if you have time to grab those, is your important documents that you've either put on an external hard drive, a flash drive, or you have copies of them at a trusted location, a family member's home, or a safety deposit box. Those deeds and wills and insurance and financial records and personal military records, all those types of things. I don't think very many people have copied those and have extra copies of those. If your house burns down, they're all gone.
Wade, I saw someone once say, put a colored status sign in your window. I don't even know what that is. When we come back, will you answer that for me? Because I've heard it before, and I don't know exactly what that means. But
Absolutely.
Wade Matthews, stick around, Utah Division of Emergency Management and Be Ready Utah. All the best tips and guidance can be found at beready.utah.gov.
He once left a penny in the dish next to a cash register just to see what it felt like to be a big spender. Even his piggy bank earns interest. He avoids wishing wells unless it's his well. He's Republican John Dougal, the most frugal man in the world.
I'm John Dougal, candidate for Congress. The cost of providing for your family is skyrocketing, all while Washington wastes billions. It's clearly time for a change.
Vote frugal. Vote John Dougal.
I approve this message. Paid for by Friends to Elect Frugal Dougal.
Attention homeowners considering roof replacement in 2024. Light up your home this June with Master Roofing. Schedule your roof replacement by the end of June and receive a free V-Lux sun tunnel valued at $1,200. Perfect for brightening your bathrooms and hallways. Don't miss out. Visit masterroofingutah.com to schedule your free assessment and claim your free V-Lux sun tunnel. Call 801-383-0072 or visit masterroofingutah.com today. Light up your home with Master Roofing.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, we have utility work on a couple of spots on Redwood Road. The first is at Indiana Avenue. You must use the median to get through that area, which is about 900 south. And then we have more utility work at 21st South affecting the northbound and westbound lanes. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cool again today with a high of only 72 degrees. The warm-up starts tomorrow with a high of 85. We're back into the 90s for the rest of the week. 60 degrees and sunny right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, if you have a criminal record and you want to get that record expunged, today is your day. There is a Juneteenth expungement clinic that is happening right now until 3 o'clock this afternoon at the Law and Justice Center. I'm going to give you the address in just a moment.
And celebrating Juneteenth is fairly new here in Utah. Within the last couple of years, we've recognized that, a national holiday as well. It commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. And joining us right now is Janetta Williams, president of the NAACP, the Salt Lake branch, and the Tri-State Conference of Idaho, Nevada, and Utah. Thank you so much for joining us, Janetta. Can you help speak to the importance of this event?
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Good morning to both of you. The importance of having this event is that there's so many individuals that cannot get adequate housing, and they can't get sufficient job employment because they have something on their records. And we're here today trying to help screen and making sure that they can get these things off their records and get expungements.
So, Janetta, it's at the Law and Justice Center until 3 o'clock this afternoon, and that's at 645 South, 200 East in Salt Lake City. Are you there right now, Janetta?
Yes, I am.
And is it a good turnout?
It's a very good turnout. I was afraid that we wouldn't have, a lot of people are coming, but they were here before we even started. There were individuals here waiting for us. And there's, we have to bring in more tables and chairs for people to be seated and filling out their paperwork.
Oh, that's good
Does
news.
this cost anything?
No, we're not charging anything. We're doing it free of charge, and we are volunteering all of our time, and we have roughly about 3 attorneys that's here helping us as well, and they're doing it pro bono.
So, Janetta, then when somebody shows up there this afternoon, they can expect to meet with attorneys who can help walk them through this process?
Yes, that is correct. And the reason why we're doing this is because, they need to have we need to have the legal experts telling everybody what it is that they can have expunged and what they can't. For instance, if they have a fine where they're paying, they have to have that fully paid off before we can start the process of expungement.
Well, this is the Juneteenth expungement clinic. It's happening today from 11 until 3 p.m. It's at the Law and Justice Center in Salt Lake City. Janetta Williams, thank you for joining us.
Greg,
thank you.
See you, Janetta. Thanks for calling us. Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst. Walk us through who can have their record expunged and how long does it take, Greg?
Yeah, so we've been doing these expungement clinics, Debbie, for some time, and it's nice that like Janetta said, we were able to get a group together today. Utah has pretty well-defined expungement laws that provide, for example, if you have a Class A misdemeanor, you can have your record expunged 4 years after you successfully complete probation. And for felonies, you can even get those expunged after some period of time, and sometimes that ranges in the 5 to 8 year range. But a lot of people don't know that, and that's why we have these clinics, is so we can bring people in. And some people have come to us and say, hey, I've had this record haunting me for 20 years. And we're like, hey, you could have got that expunged 10 years ago. Let's do it. The law is there, and the legislature has made it not easy to get an expungement, but certainly available to people who can show a prolonged period of crime-free life. And like you said earlier, that they've paid all their fines, they paid all their fees, and they successfully completed probation. So we've tried to get these clinics going, and they've been very popular, and I'm glad that Janetta and the NAACP participated today.
And Greg, that's a crucial part of this, is even if you are eligible for expungement, this is not automatic. You have to be proactive to take some steps.
That's exactly right. We have set up some programs that will do it automatically for certain individuals. Those are fairly limited to misdemeanor offenses with a significant period of time. But yeah, there are things you can do to get your record expunged, even if you don't qualify for that automatic expungement. And sometimes, like you say, people owe a little money, they didn't finish their community service or whatever. And so we can get that done. We can get it done quickly and then reapply for the expungement and hope that we can get that done. And we've had tremendous success. And I got to applaud the lawyers that are doing that free of charge for the Utah State Bar.
We're talking about a Juneteenth expungement clinic. It's happening now downtown Salt Lake City at the Law and Justice Center, 645 South and 2nd East. Goes till 3 o'clock. And Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, is on the line with us, walking us through how this works. And we've heard from Janetta Williams of the NAACP that it is free. There is no cost involved to people who show up. And what does their record then look like after this expungement is officially approved, Greg? If somebody went to look them up to see if they had a criminal record for, say, I'm going to throw like burglary out there, would that no longer show up on the record?
That's exactly right. Now, there are certain groups like law enforcement, even the educators, people who want to be teachers can go back and look at somebody's record who's had it expunged. But if you had something on your record, a DUI, a burglary, or something like that 10 years ago, and you had it expunged, it no longer exists in the court records. And it's very, very difficult to find except by some limited groups that have been approved by our legislature. So a lot of people have a case, even if it was dismissed, but they didn't get it expunged, it still shows up as a dismissed case. And people think that dismissal means it's not there anymore, but that's not true. Expungement means it almost makes it look like it never happened. The slate is wiped very, very clean.
How long does it take if you go through this clinic for the expungement to actually take place and be wiped away from your record?
That's a little bit of one of the problems, Dave, and that's a good question, because the Bureau of Criminal Identification, BCI, has to process this and has to give the courts the records that show that the individual is eligible for the expungement, and that can take a while. So the answer to that isn't real easy, but I would say 60 to 90 days usually is safe, sometimes a little bit more than that if a person has a significant record, because we have to go through their record. We have to find out everything on their record to see if they're even eligible for an expungement. And that can include incidents that occurred long time ago and maybe incidents that occurred in other states. So, yeah, it's a pretty involved process. And that's, although I love BCI, they're very receptive and they're very helpful. That's kind of the holdup in this process.
But, what's an extra 60 days if maybe you've been carrying this around for years longer than you've needed to? Greg?
You're exactly right.
Thank you. Yeah, 60 days. Come on. That's great. All right, couple months. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas.
And that goes on until 3 o'clock this afternoon. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about the expungement clinic. So if you know somebody or yourself, you're eligible for this, you may want to swing by there. It's at the Law and Justice Center at 2nd East and 645 South. So think 6 South and 2nd East in Salt Lake City. Straight ahead, let's talk about boredom-proofing your kids this summer. We don't want bored kids. So thanks to the Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. Up next, we've got a list of fun and affordable activities the whole family can enjoy.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hopefully, you're one of those individuals that got a great gift card from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Maybe it was for a birthday. Maybe it was for graduation. Maybe it was for Father's Day. The fact is, it's time for you and the family or a dear friend to get into Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and take advantage of that generous gift. There are 2 locations, Hotel Park City and downtown Salt Lake City, where the best food awaits you. In downtown Salt Lake City, it's always nice to know you can kind of combine it with other great things that are going on, whether it's a ball game or whether it's a concert or a play. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse at 275 Southwest Temple is awaiting you. And maybe you're heading up into the mountains. Maybe it's a round of golf. Maybe it's hiking. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse at Hotel Park City is so convenient for you to get to. And remember, nobody prepares a meal like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Hotel Park City, downtown Salt Lake City.
We've teamed up with Be Ready Utah. BeReady.utah.gov is a website that has incredible information if you basically anything. But we're going to focus it in on wildfires right now because we've already seen these pop up in Utah. And joining us right now is Wade Matthews with the Division of Emergency Management and Be Ready Utah. When we were talking about evacuations, I saw something that said, put a colored status sign on your window. And I don't know what that is. What is a colored status sign?
Yeah, basically, it's part of what we call a home emergency status program. And this might be set up by neighborhoods or church groups or something like that. But basically, officials, responders are kind of trained to look for the colored signs. And doesn't have to have any words on it.
Okay.
But just a colored piece of paper, big enough to be seen from the road, what we call windshield assessments, people driving down the street just kind of to take a status account of what's going on in people's homes. And there's 4 different colors. Green means everything is okay. Yellow, help is needed but not critical. Red is immediate help is needed. And if you ever have to put up black, that's because there's a fatality here. Yeah. Very sad. Hopefully you never have to do that. But in the case of evacuation, it's a good practice after closing your doors and windows, locking everything up, put up just a green piece of paper that everybody knows that, okay, everybody's okay in that house.
Good idea to have these different colored signs or pieces of paper handy.
Construction paper, something like that, just those 4 different colors.
will evacuation notices be delivered to us, Wade?
In the case of a wildfire, most likely that would be door to door, or maybe it could be through a mass phone notification, sometimes called reverse 911, via your wireless emergency alerts over your cell phone. But depending on the size of the area, the amount of population or homes or neighborhood, it could just be route alerting, which is just going door to door using a PA system on a police car, just making that announcement. And it should include the protective action to evacuate, how much time you have to evacuate, where you would go, like a shelter or someplace, who the authority is issuing that order.
Is there any idea, is there a ballpark, do we usually have 10 minutes or 30 minutes or a couple hours?
It's just going to vary. There's no specific one. Hopefully you have more time, because you wanted to grab your disaster supply kits, your other important items, your photocopies of your, or your important papers or copies of those. So hopefully you have time, but the important thing is leave when you're told to leave. That could be the difference between life and death.
Wade Matthews, thank you for joining us from the Utah Division of Emergency Management. Make sure, if you ever have any questions, an incredible resource is their website. Just go to beready.utah.gov.
Spencer Cox and Colorado Governor Jared Polis are chair and vice chair of the National Governors Association. KUTV News reported that Denver is paying for immigrants to come to Utah. They've shipped 2,000 so far that we know of, and they plan to keep on sending. Are we losing the battle for our borders in Utah? We have two governors disagreeing better while thousands of immigrants are being flown from Denver to Utah. When governors prioritize their own career over what's best for Utah, Utah families lose.
I'm Phil Lyman, and I approve this message.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Intermountain area provides families of ill or injured children with comforting, supportive, and healing spaces like the Ronald McDonald House and Ronald McDonald Family Rooms in a number of Utah hospitals. CEO Carrie Romano joins us with more.
Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Intermountain area is built on the simple idea that nothing else should matter when a family is focused on the health of their child. Through facilities like our 75-room Ronald McDonald House in Salt Lake City near top local hospitals and our Ronald McDonald Family Room programs within local hospitals, we increase access to high-quality pediatric care for around 10,000 families annually. Our services help families to stay close to their hospitalized children, offering free lodging, transportation to medical facilities, and meals. Keeping families together not only provides a sense of normalcy and social support, but it also improves patient outcomes. To continue providing these critical services, Ronald McDonald House Charities relies on community support, donations, and the Roundup program at local McDonald's restaurants. Additionally, volunteers to provide and prepare meals for families are needed now more than ever before. Show your support by visiting ronaldmcdonaldhouseutah.org.
This year, Ronald McDonald House Charities is also celebrating 50 years of uplifting families. To support their mission and the growing needs of those facing pediatric health crises, visit their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, some people who evacuated near the Big Draw fire in Duchesne County are back home now. Second, Democrats in Congress trying to pass a bill banning bump stocks today. Third, Congresswoman Celeste Malloy has an endorsement from former President Trump going into the Republican primary election. 60 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Alrighty, we're gonna board and proof your kids' summer for you. There's no after we get done with the help of the Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau, giving you a list of ideas of fun things to do with your family. I don't want to hear any of this. Mom, I'm bored.
It's so easy to say though. Because it's exciting to be out of school. You have all this free time, and then by week 2, after sleeping in till noon, kids are a little bit restless.
Our producer Caitlin Johnston stepped into studio with a big list of fun things to do that are affordable for the family. But before we do, I want you to touch on Bear Lake, Dave. I went up there last year to go paddleboarding. You spent a lot of time up there. I think that's a fun, inexpensive thing to do with the family.
It really is. It's a little bit of a drive. If you're in Salt Lake, it takes a little over 2 hours to get up to Bear Lake, but a beautiful drive, number one. If you haven't been up to Bear Lake in a while, a beautiful drive getting up there. And then obviously, once you get to the lake, You can play. There's some beaches where you can just lay out some games and play around. It's very affordable.
And let's not forget about the free passes for kids in Salt Lake County to the rec centers. We've been talking about rec centers today. There are free passes available for kids. So parents need to sign their kids up. You can get a free rec center pass so your kid can go over, walk across the street or down the street and go do lots of fun things at their local rec center.
And the reason we're doing this is because the Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau wants to help you boredom-proof your kids' summer. So there is a list. We're going to give you a list all summer long about fun things you can do, affordable activities that, like you said, Deb, the whole family can enjoy.
All right, Caitlin, give us your list of fun things that you found for folks to do.
Well, I was trying to think when we talked about this previously, we were thinking, let's involve kids with the things we already like to do. So I don't have kids, but what do I like to do? I like to
parents.
go, make it fun for everybody. Kids, I like concerts. There are free concerts, at least by my house. There's a park that is free every weekend. There's music going on. I have never gone, but check your community calendars or whatever billboard is out there. There has to be an event going on at your local park, and I think that we just really need to utilize those community events.
I think that's a very good point because I look back at when I was growing up, my parents took me to a couple of concerts. Now, these were not concerts that I would have gone to. They took me to John Denver and Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
Which is totally my parents' music. Like, they loved John Denver and Neil Diamond. And I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. But guess who I like now? John Denver and Neil Diamond. So your kids might end up liking your music a little bit more than they admit to when you take them.
I'll also say there are a lot of free movies in the parks as well. A lot of our communities get together and they sponsor these free movies in the parks, and they're usually G-rated movies or PG light movies, and that's a lot of fun as well. What else did you find?
And one other concert I mentioned that is affordable, the Twilight concert series is only $15, $20. So just it happens.
And
it's
what
starting
is that?
now.
You've gone into those?
I have gone. There's this one in Salt Lake that is at the Gallivan Center and one that's at the Ogden Amphitheater, and they are just like, I saw Bon Iver there, Bon Iver, I guess is how you say it, but popular artists, Noah Cyrus, things like that, they go to these. Sometimes they sell out, but the tickets are very cheap. So I think that that's just a good thing to be aware of. I just think one other thing of doing what you like on the flip side, you can do what your kids like to do and learn online video games and play with them. And so kind of incorporating yourself, not saying you should be in front of a screen all summer. I'm not supporting that, but I just think go outside of the box and think about the things that you can really involve your kids in so they're not just isolated and doing these types of things.
It's one of the few things that my kids will just chuckle and giggle the entire time is when I'm trying to play Fortnite with them. And I'm an absolute disaster. I can't build anything. Basically, all they do is they rescue me the entire time. But they love it. Even though I'm terrible, even though you're going to be terrible, playing video games with your kids, they will love it.
What about this Utah treasure hunt that just launched where there's this $25,000 treasure hunt? They've done a few of these over the years, and I would totally enlist the help of my kids this summer to see if we could find that treasure.
That would be fun. And that's also on just geocaching is kind of like that, and you can do it at any point in time. But these treasure hunts are fun.
How do you do that? Is that through an app?
I've never done it, but there's an app, and you search it. Yeah, Dave probably knows more than I do.
Yeah, you basically get some coordinates, and then when I did it, it was with an actual GPS. Now you can do it with your phone, but you just got to follow the coordinates. You go to the coordinates, and then you search the area. Typically, there's a little box that you can open. There's some sort of treasure, and it's not like $25,000. It's usually a little knickknack, and you get to take the knickknack, and then you leave one behind for the next people.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, way fun.
Final thing that I would say. Have we stopped making lemonade stands? I'm sure kids still do it, but be a business partner with your kid. I was the best entrepreneur when I was a kid. I even had like a little mixtape that I tried to sell with my lemonade stand.
You had a mixtape?
I don't know. I think I made a song about rollerblades. I just had a memory pop up as I was thinking of these things. But lemonade stands, like, just have fun. It's fun. It gives kids a purpose, and they're working towards something. I think it's great.
I saw probably about a 12-year-old selling homemade bracelets by the lake out at daybreak a couple of weeks ago, and he only took cash, and I was on a walk. I didn't. I said, "Do you take Venmo?" And he said, "No." But I thought if I had $5 or $10, I mean, these were $1 bracelets, I would have given him my little stash of cash because I thought, and he had this little toy cash register there, and it was just so fun. And he just looked so happy doing it. And I'm sure mom or dad was just right in the area. I didn't happen to see them, but there were a lot of people around. And what about farmers markets, too? They have a lot of fun things for kids.
I know the big one downtown Salt Lake City is every Saturday. I know there's one in Bountiful that's on Thursdays.
They have
but
face painting.
Yeah, the Salt Lake one is huge, and it's a great thing to go to.
Oh, we are also talking about the swap meet at the drive-in theater over on Redwood Road. They have that over the summer as well, on Saturdays and Sundays as well. So that could be a fun one to go to.
And thanks again. Bear Lake is another option. Bear Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. And they've got some big events coming up there, too.
Yeah, enjoy Utah's Caleb Austin live June 22nd at Laketown Rodeo Arena in Bear Lake Valley.
Here you go. Don't let your kids be bored this summer. There's lots of fun and very affordable things to do.
KSL FM Midvale. KSL.